Howdy, friends. I put out a post a little bit ago, and I got the alert that hey, we would like to see you do the episode on Rhaenys killing the Greens in a post. Let me actually pull that up really quick. So I put out a post and asking, hey, which one would you like to do? And out of the comments, we got a few different ones. We have a few. We'll do that one next week, and then we'll do Ned racing the Targs. Since a little bit ago, before that happened, we had the Where the Greens Get Smoked. And I feel like this one might be a good one to do because I am where I kind of screwed up. It was didn't really do the best with that one, sadly. It was not really. I'm not really proud of how that one turned out, mainly because I got kind of savaged a little bit in the comments, and rightly so. It was not. There could have been a number of improvements made. Howdy, Mr. E. It's not really I'm too hard on myself. It's just I feel bad about how this turned out. I could have done a lot more to logically justify it. I feel like there was I could have done some little improvements here or there, and it would have made things a lot easier. I could have had more deaths too. That was something I should have ought to do. I really am kind of like on how it turned out. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get through both this and the Daemon assassinating Aemond story, since I feel like they work as a good pairing, because I took a lot of the complaints that came up in the first Daeron centric video, and then I took a lot of the suggestions, and you tried to cram too much too quickly. It would have worked as a two-parter, that's one of the things about this is we aren't really, after the Rhaenys as Queen episode didn't really didn't do as well as we were hoping it would, especially considering as the first. Which it kind of sucks, because you're thinking that people would like it, and would show up for it. I made a few mistakes. I made it a little bit too easy. That was one of the thing. That was one of the problems. I was like, I got a little bit too ambitious, and probably should have just had not have him try to retake the Seven Kingdoms. I think that probably would have made things a lot better. Yeah, say the V, indeed. Well, let's get started.
Takes a long break. Aegon and Blackfire above his dragon pit. Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Alicent takes a long breath of relief as Aegon raises Blackfire above his head, basking in the adulation of the crowd. Finally, her son was seeing the wisdom of being king. Now they had only to remove Rhaenyra from the game board. As she considers how to neutralize her stepdaughter, a rumbling starts to build beneath the floor of the dragon pit. With a roar, Meleys, the Red Queen, bursts out of the floor, killing thousands of small folk and nobility. Alicent puts herself between the dragon and her son. Aemond does the same with Helena. For a long moment, Rhaenys looks down at the high towers, internally debating what she should do. Rhaenys could simply leave and sit out this war, but now she had all the power. Could she resist? No, she had to end this. They had stolen the crown for themselves, away from her grandchildren, and now they would suffer the consequences.
Dracarys.
Meleys opens her jaw and bathes the Green Council in fire. Alicent and Aegon are consumed in fire. Aemond shoves Helena into a hole right before she's reduced to ash. Otto flings himself into a crevice as Rhaenys incinerates everything around her. The sound of the doors closing draw Rhaenyra's attention toward the exit. She wanted to kill all of the Greens, but she needed to leave. Grunting in disappointment, Rhaenys spurs her dragon out of the dragon pit toward the sky. He could burn the Red Keep, but what purpose would that have? She didn't have an army, only a single dragon. After the roars of the dragon fade away, Otto slowly pokes out from behind his hiding place. Swallowing, Otto stands up, straightens his coat, then doubles over and vomits. Once he's finished emptying his stomach, Otto starts desperately searching the wreck for all of his plans. The most obvious are the burned bodies of his daughter and grandson, along with Jasper Wilde, Kristen Cole, and the Grand Maester. Otto allows himself a brief moment to mourn for them, then turns to searching for Helena. Tywin Lannister was cowering behind a pillar.
Yeah, so it's deliver post speeches. Ideally, yeah, I probably could have learned a little bit more into the politicking and yeah, I probably could have had it be more just working around the what was it? Working around the politics. I think that probably could have been better. Yeah, this is a Three-Eyed Theorist vid that I wrote. I would say that of the you're doing great. Yeah, I try. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to do here. There's no conflict. Road trip. That happened with. Yeah, I think you brought that up. Where. Yeah, I think you brought that up. Yeah, it's definitely how it would be since Rhaegar's kind of the way that I conceptualize um um uh Rhaegar Targaryen is that he is asexual and is kind of autistic. That's how I the way to introduce Jason Lannister. Yeah, I had a lot of fun writing writing him clinically depressed. Yeah, I would definitely say that Rhaegar Targaryen is a um very very clearly depressed individual and probably asexual. Like he doesn't actually seem to see um uh doesn't seem to actually want to have sex or have any kind of physical intimacy. It's just he just wants to like have three heads of the dragon because he's a weirdo. And um, I'm really I find Rhaegar Targaryen interesting because everybody who is not Robert has a high opinion of him, which is very odd. Uh, since even Ned doesn't. Yeah, I do think that he liked Elia. That's why I kind of wrote in the Robert and Aegon Reborn deal. Um, um, Yeah, he loved her on some level. He was at least fond of her. Yeah, which I think is probably as close as you could um to do that. Yeah, I think there's just so much ambiguity, unfortunately, around Rhaegar Targaryen. But back to this. So the it's killed the greens at the killed the greens. Oh my goodness. The original. So funny thing is, the original prompt was actually was burned was actually burned Aegon and Aemond, not burn the greens. I guess they wanted to change it. Um, yeah, yeah, scared little boy. Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, but yeah, with we, I since it was just Aegon and Aemond in the prompt, I was like, oh, maybe I can use Helena, and so I decided to do that, and and I could use Otto as well because I actually kind of wanted to actually characterize Otto because I hadn't really had the chance to up to that point to give him some serious meat to chew on. And I kind of wanted to use Thailand as well, and I wanted to use Jason. I had watched the Empyrean Speaks video, um, and um, I was like, okay, there's some interesting stuff in here. But the thing that actually appealed to me was the fact that there was this was the first time, yeah, because I actually really like that theory because there's some neat parallels that happen because of it. It means that the Dance of the Dragons is between Sarah Targaryen and Daela Targaryen's bloodlines, fighting over the Iron Throne, and I think that that's actually really interesting as a parallel. Um, and I I got that actually from Order the Green Hand, now a sadly departed channel. Hey, Hypatia! It has been a really long time. I have missed you. It's really good to see you again. I haven't seen you in a really long time. Um, and I wanted to kind of have a big old exposition dump. And yeah. So because of that, I just went, this is the first time, and thematically it works. Yeah, I, yeah, I, I was like, you know what? Let's just do that since I feel like that would be something that would be hmm, that would be thematic. I wish they made an amazing. Yeah, yeah. I miss the or the Green Hand. I like their Andal Lies of the Andals videos. They actually do a really good job of examining the fact that um, there's a lot in the world of Ice and Fire that doesn't make sense, and they admittedly kind of go with a Watsonian perspective, i.e., the perspective that it's all a deliberate lie and stuff like that. But it could just also be uh, they just mistake, though they are they're kind of Magor shills in a way because they hate the Andals so much. Oh my gosh! Congratulations! That is so cool. I am so happy for you. That's great. I'm really glad that at that glad that your son is doing well. That's great. Hey, that's so cool. I'm I'm really, really happy for you, Hypatia. That's great. That is that's so awesome. I'm happy for you. Um, but yeah, in this this is arguably my weakest, but now I kind of wanted there to be some kind of conflict between Tywin Lannister and Otto, where Otto is just like, I want revenge. And but kind of going back to the Empyrean Speaks, I liked his video on what if Rhaenys burned Aegon and Aemond or burned the Greens. But one of the comments actually struck me as very interesting. It was the Blue Fire Rebellions. And I'm like, that is actually really cool. I want to do that. And so I decided, yeah, let's do that rather than kind of ripping off. Since I actually have gone to some of the Empyrean Speaks videos for inspiration, though I try to make it fairly different, since he does a really good job, and I don't want to rip off his stuff. I will take inspiration from some ideas, but I'll change it up. Like in the Artorias video, I said, you know what, let's just make him have a relationship with Alicent. I think that would be, I thought that would be interesting. And maybe in another video someday, they'll get a happy ending. One of these days. We'll have to do it. We'll try anyway. But let's keep going with this.
But Otto ignored the master of ships and continued his search. Finally, he finds her huddled inside a small crevice in the rock, whispering about the beast beneath the boards. Ignoring his granddaughter's ramblings, Otto pulls her to her feet and into his arms. Stiffly, she pats his back, clearly in shock.
Get to Dreamfire. We need to run to Old Town with your children and the dragons. We cannot allow Rhaenyra or Daemon to get their hands on them.
Still shaking, Helena nods, then runs to her dragon. Otto blows out his cheeks and looks around the ruin of everything he's worked so hard to achieve. His coup had gone so well. All of his allies were in place. He had the largest dragon in the world, but now all of his carefully laid plans were in shambles. Truly, the gods had seen his plans and laughed in his face. The worst part about this whole failure was that there was now no one on his side who could claim Vhagar. Dreamfire was large, but she wasn't a war dragon. Not wanting to leave him behind, Otto grabs Tyland and walks him toward the Red Keep. On the way out, he collects Aegon's crown and Blackfire. They would need all the symbols of legitimacy they could get their hands on. Larys Strong quickly grasps the gravity of the situation and agrees to accompany them. Tyland suggests going to Casterly Rock, but Otto counters that they need to get his grandson, Daeron, and his dragon to Sarion.
It is imperative that we get beyond the reach of Rhaenyra and Daemon as quickly as possible. We must flee to Old Town and begin establishing a power base there. We need time for the dragons to grow. They have more children born that could claim dragons. We shall need even more subtlety than before if our plan is to succeed. Our whole plan is in ruins, Otto. Everyone else besides us in the clubfoot are dead. We must sue for peace before they kill us all. My daughter and grandsons are dead. I will not rest until all of them are at my feet. What do you have to offer me now? My grandson Daeron is unmarried, and if memory serves, your brother boasted he wished to build his own dragon pit in Casterly Rock. What if your niece were to be married to Daeron? Would your niece, as a queen, serve to soothe your anxiety?
Tyland considers, then slowly nods. Once they're ready, Helena flies Dreamfire towards Old Town with Morgul and Trikos following behind. Rhaenys lands on Dragonstone and quickly dismounts. Rhaenyra and Daemon are discussing matters in the map room when the queen, who never was, strides into the room.
Rhaenys, what brings
There
you...
is no time, Rhaenyra. Your father has passed and your brothers attempted to seize the throne.
What? They dared to steal my birthright?
They must have killed him. It's too convenient otherwise. We need to gather allies. Vhagar on her own is a terrible adversary, and we need to...
Aemon and Aegon are both dead, along with a number of the small council. Vhagar is unclaimed now. Rhaena can seize her as should always have been.
Daemon and Rhaenyra exchange startled looks. Then Rhaenyra clutches at her stomach. Her latest child is coming, after the birth of the stillborn and malformed Visenya. Rhaenyra shuts herself into her room to grieve. While the queen grieves, Daemon and Rhaenys send word to their mainland allies, the houses along Blackwater Bay, Riverlanders, and Arryns. Corlys Velaryon.
Yeah, they kind of did too. Regent rather than king. Yeah, probably should have done that. For Jaehaerys. Yeah, I probably should have done that in hindsight. That's one of the slight problems. One of the things that they do is the Maester conspiracy. They are big Maester conspiracy proponents, including, funnily enough, in House of the Dragon, they actually posited that Balon was poisoned. Was poisoned. Oh, so this is a what if of what if Rhaenys earned the greens in the dragon pit in House of the Dragon. And this is just basically a script that I wrote, which is it's basically a combination of book and movie prose or movie formatting. And so I just make a script, make a theory, limit is 10,000 words, and I just go from there. And so I'm just kind of commenting on my own work. With this, it's this part, it's simple. It's just establishing what the conflict is going to be, who the characters. Yeah, I hate that scene too. And I like to think of this as, what if logic had prevailed? What if she had actually killed them? I really hate that scene, and the justification for that scene was so bad. I was just like, plot over, kind of. Yeah, it's so dumb. Like, it's so asininely stupid. I cannot believe they actually were stupid enough to put it in. And especially for the reasons they put it in. Like, when I watched the behind the scenes, I was like, please give me a justification for why you did this. And when I watched it, I went, oh, so you just wanted to throw in a dumb action beat for the sake of a dumb action beat? You're not going to actually address the consequences of this? Are you nuts? Yeah, I was so pissed. Really, really pissed. But yeah, I was pissed. I was laughing my butt off. I think there are a lot of good elements of season 1, but there are a lot of problems that would occur. One of them is the trend that they have of only characterizing characters right before they die. Laena Valerian, Joffrey Lonmouth, to a certain extent, Laenor, and Lucerys, all of them are characterized, and Jaehaerys are only characterized right before they die. Yeah, Lucerys. Yeah, Lucerys. Yeah, that's one of the ones I mentioned. But that's one of the ones. And with this, it's basically just, let's establish some stuff about what's going to be the conflict.
And sends word to Driftmark to bring the fleet into the bay. Once they are ready, the Blacks take it to King's Landing to dig it for their own, using the Valyrian fleet, the gold cloaks, and the houses sworn to Dragonstone. When she is recovered, Rhaenyra is crowned queen in the Red Keep, but the whispers have already begun rising about the whore queen who had her brothers murdered to take their throne. Daemon works to crush these rumors, using Mysaria to rat out the descendants, but the rumors have spread too far to be killed. They do attempt to spread a counter-narrative that the High Towers had attempted a coup, and Rhaenys had loyally stood for the will of her cousin Viserys against the usurpers. After Rhaena claims Vhagar and the defense of the capital is secure, messengers are sent out to the kingdoms Rhaenyra had gathered support in during her visits across the kingdoms.
One was Balon. Definitely, they love. Yeah, they are big. Yeah, Lost is a similar issue. Yeah, Walking Dead supposedly has that same problem. We're in a deal. Shay is Sir Sand. That's a big one. Yeah. Balon, the House of the Dragon used the possibility that Balon was poisoned to allow Otto to become Hand of the King. That's one. They didn't get to the Great Council, but they were like, Great Council is sham, which Preston Jacobs eventually agreed as well. Other things that they did. One is that the Jon that gets killed at the end of Dance of Dragons is really Tormund, who's been glamored. That's one. They went through Daenerys' arc and examined it. Couldn't find any traces of madness in it. That was one. But yeah, that's a big
Ace
one.
and Luke fly to Riverlands north and Vale. Rhaenys flies Meleys to Storm's End to treat with her cousin Boros Baratheon. When she arrives, the welcome is courteous, but there's an element of fear that what happened to Aegon and Aemond will be the fate of Storm's End. Rolling her eyes impatiently, Rhaenys claps her hands behind her back and looks her cousin in the eye.
Cousin, if I wished to make Storm's End into another Harrenhal, I would have done so already. I have come to ensure your fealty to the new queen. The advantage in dragons is ours, and you should see the wisdom in standing on the right side.
Not wishing to face the wrath of the Red Queen, or the Queen who never was, Boros agrees to support the new monarch. In the capital, more problems arise. The treasury is gone, with the money being distributed to unknown locations. Daemon immediately sets Missaria to try finding the solution to the funds so that they can begin funding the war effort. Supplies are also funneled into King's Landing via the Valerian fleet, and Daemon flies to Bravos to ask the Iron Bank for a loan to keep things running. Otto and the Green Council fly over Old Town, right as Daeron flies up to meet them on Tessarion. Once they've landed, Daeron hugs his older sister and grandfather, then ruffles the hair of his nephews and niece.
Grandfather, Helena, today just keeps getting better.
Depends on whether or not you. I still. One of the problems is I'm like, in order to kind of contrive it, because I still go with the book mostly, since Alicent and Rhaenyra are not friends in the book. They never were, especially because Alicent's about 10 years older. She's basically the wicked stepmother archetype. Yes. Yeah, lost all her siblings and her friend. They hadn't committed any crimes, yeah. Yeah, Fifth Star is a warning. Okay. Yeah, they do a good job in laying out the textual evidence. They have a lot of quotes. They do really hate Kat. Even though Kat's kind of the smartest person after she takes Tyrion. She's not a good person. She definitely hates Jon, and that's kind of the yeah. They didn't want each other dead out of the gate. Yeah, I would agree. And so I went. But yeah, Rhaenyra is ultimately being shoved into consequences that she can't really fix, is the big problem. I didn't want to do the storming of the Dragon Pit, since I was like, well, if Vhagar is in the Dragon Pit, it is so much of the show. It's happening. Fair enough. But yeah, if Vhagar is in the Dragon Pit, nobody's getting out. They're gonna die. That's just not gonna. That's just not gonna fly.
It's good to see you. I'm sad to say that I bear grave tidings, Daeron. Your father has passed, and your brothers.
So right there is I wanted to, since this is kind of the first time we were seeing Daeron on screen, I wanted to kind of give an impression that he's a good kid. And honestly, I feel like I future-proofed these videos where I made a better Daeron than the show. And I'm not, I don't feel like that's arrogant to say, because I really hated how they made Daeron in the show. Since Daeron in the show is common and lame. And I'm like, that's not my Daeron Targaryen. Why have you character assassinated? I hate this. And I also, that's a subtle Knight's Tale reference where he says, this day gets better and better, and then abruptly bad news. So I feel like it's both an exact quote, but also the scenario as well.
Mother dead, murdered by Rhaenys and a dragon at the coronation. What? No, that cannot be. No. Aegon and Aemond, gone. It is a heavy burden I must rest upon your shoulders. But you must take your place as the rightful king of Westeros.
Face set in a mask of solemnity, Otto hands Blackfire and the crown of Aegon the Conqueror to Daeron, who accepts both with a frozen expression on his young face. Swallowing, the boy requests time to think, but Otto cautions him to do it quickly, as there is very little time. Tyland attempts to offer his condolences, but Otto cuts him off with a sharp look. For the next few hours, Daeron sits in his rooms in Hightower, holding the crown in one hand and Blackfire in the other. It was his duty to avenge his brothers, but could he risk his family? He had barely anything to his name, only a small dragon and Dreamfire against the might of Vhagar, Meleys, and Caraxes. For what feels like an eternity, Daeron wrestles with himself, debating between the possible options. He could fight, either by raising his banners in open rebellion, or begin an insurgency campaign and subvert his enemies ruled by sowing discord through the realm, or he could simply surrender and sue for peace. But would that be honorable, to leave his mother's and brother's murderer unpunished? It felt like a pale of darkness hung over him, making the world seem dim. While the prince tries to choose what path he should take, Otto and Tyland debate the proper course.
Yeah, with this I wanted to kind of very much introduce kind of some introspection on Daeron and make it so that he was clearly torn between several different options, most of them bad, and he's just trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? And just kind of introduce him as a character. That's the main thing I wanted to do here.
Both men stand beside a large table with troop movements of various lords of the realm marked by stylized figurines spread over detailed maps of the Seven Kingdoms.
We must gain the support of the Grey Doors. Perhaps Helena could be married to the Red Kraken and gain his fleet to counter the Valerians. Perhaps.
Okay.
But Dawn has faced the dragons in one. I suggest Helena be married to Prince Corin Martell. This is possible, but that can wait. Jaehaera or Jaehaerys could be betrothed to one of his children at some future date. We need ships at the moment, since Rhaenyra has the Valerians on her side. We need to discuss the matter of the betrothal of your son to one of my nieces. If that is not put into place, my brother may not support you. Are you extorting me? You shall have your betrothal, I promise you.
At that moment, Daeron walks in, Blackfire in his back and the crown clenched in his fist. Both Otto and Tylan bow to the prince, who simply walks to the planning table and sets the crown on where King's Landing is marked. For a moment, the room is silent as the prince contemplates. Then he picks up the lion figurine and starts turning it through his fingers. I'm willing to wed to Shara Lannister, Lord Tylan. She is a very attractive and intelligent girl from the times I visited the Rock. I would be happy to have her as my queen. As for our course, I will not risk open war. Your Grace, this is a prudent course. We must wait and gather support from other great houses. I agree, but it shall not be in the...
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I very much wanted to have him and Thailand have a comparison, a different ideas of what they want to do, as well as saying someone enjoyable by treating it as a different, it makes it easier. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, they fundamentally changed it. I kind of wish that they had kept they had maintained some of the characterization they had set up. Like I find that the Alicent kind of goes downhill starting in episode 9 forward, and it's a little bit frustrating to kind of see her character ruined like that. I really, really find that frustrating. And with this, I did want to kind of put in a little bit of, like, I guess, shall we say, sensory stuff, where it's not just talking, where he comes in, you see him, like, actually fiddling around with stuff, fiddling with the crown, putting the crown on King's Landing, etc. And ultimately, I do wanted this to kind of be the setup for what the rest of the plot is going to be.
Way you might think. We must leave Westeros. Casually, Daeron places the High Tower Lannister figures on Essos. Otto and Tylan exchange concerned looks as the prince circles the table and clasps his hands behind his back.
Your Grace, I fear I do not understand the purpose of such an action. We would be abandoning our seats to the Whore Queen. Our advantage was in men and in Vhagar. Now Vhagar is lost.
So, yeah, I would like, yeah, I actually really wanted Curvy Rhaenyra, honestly. I actually, so let me actually pull it up. Rhaenyra, Naomi Botello. So Naomi Botello actually draws Rhaenyra Targaryen as a plus-sized lady, but does it, like, still makes her, like, super gorgeous and attractive, where like, this is kind of her in armor with Daemon in front of the throne. This is her with Laena Velaryon and Daemon. And obviously there's going to be some segs going on. Kind of, this one's a good example. This one's also a good example of Rhaenyra, which I really like. Yeah, it's meant to be Daeron. Yeah. Yes, Thailand is, considering what happens, Daeron, Thailand ironically doesn't, like, crack at all, which is kind of impressive considering just how he like, how much torture. Yeah, I like Emma Darcy too. They're a great actor. I really, really think that they are carrying a lot of the material. But yeah, I think that having, I would actually honestly like to have a more curvy Rhaenyra. I think that would be cool. Yeah, where despite since Thailand, he's a legit loyal guy. Like even under torture, he does not crack. Even though they blind him, castrate him, and a whole bunch of things. There's an interesting theory that Aegon the Third isn't actually the somebody made an interesting theory that Daeron yeah, I mean, very effective Hand of the King. Yeah, it's very it's kind of incredible. Since they just did some pretty bad things to him, and there's even a suggestion that they castrate Aegon the Third, so he wouldn't have any heirs. But they ended up not doing that. There's a theory that they still did that, and Aegon and that Viserys is the dad of all of the kids, so they're all fake. I don't really believe in that necessarily, but I think I think that's a little bit too much, especially considering they want to have Jaehaera married to him, so they wouldn't castrate him if they wanted to have kids. So that's kind of my thought.
We are vulnerable to being annihilated in Dragonfire, so we must go beyond our enemy's reach, into the disputed lands and beyond, gather forces around us from a continent away that will allow us the ability to strike when we have the ability to. The Triarchy will support us against Daemon and Corlys, so likely they will appreciate us aiding them in the Stepstones. Perhaps we could even take Pentos and Volantis from them. Is the treasury secure?
Yes, it has been separated between Old Town, Casterly Rock, and the Iron Bank.
Good. Have it slowly siphoned to banks across Essos. Thailand, I would like to have you manage that, since you've done a very good job of it so far. I'll also fly myself to Casterly Rock along with you to collect some of the gold. I have a plan for taking my bride from the Rock that will keep your family safe. Lord Strong, start fueling rumors and insurgents here in Westeros. Keep out of sight. Find a place to operate from that will allow you maximum influence.
I love that joke. Though we also get to see. I just made up this bit. I think the first bit is. I think the first half is a lot stronger than the second. There are a couple of oversights that I made, sadly, and I'll get into that later, and I corrected them in the second video, but let's kind of get into it.
Did you steal many eggs?
6, Your Grace.
Excellent. It may be dangerous, but I shall undertake a journey into old Valeria to discover the secrets of hatching them.
Are you insane? Valerian barely survived the venture into
Yeah,
that
I'm
place.
feeling a lot
How else
better.
will we
Thank
determine
you.
success? No one has given me a straight answer since we've been here. Not even Septon Barth's studies have proven more than a few things.
Come with me, both of you. There's a secret that I shall tell you, but we must do it inside the citadel.
Both Thailand and Daeron exchange confused looks.
So this is going to be the lore dump where I basically spew all of the crackpot theories. Yeah, found this bit brash and reckless, which is why. Yeah, he's like, no, you're not going to Valyria. No, we'll come up with a different thing. I'll give you some actual information. Yeah, since he's like, yeah, and since he's kind of desperate, and since he is Daeron the Daring, so I figured that we should include that bit about him.
Then they both nod. All three of them descend into the lower vaults of the citadel after Otto speaks with one of the archmaesters. Daeron glances around the ancient black stone all around them, the oppressive weight of the building causing him to feel like a cage was closing in around him. Thailand notices the young man's discomfort and puts a hand on his shoulder. Daeron sighs and nods and thanks to the golden-haired man. Finally, Otto reaches a large door made from
Yeah, I
solid
wanted
steel and places a
to
key into
put
it.
in a little
Once
bit
inserted, he
where
spins a pair of circles until loud
Daeron
click sounds. The
is
door slowly swings open, revealing a
getting
large
comforted
storeroom
by
of books.
Thailand,
Otto
who's
ushers
not
him
a bad
inside and
guy,
closes the door,
honestly.
then starts rummaging through books on the shelves and putting them down.
These are copies of copies, but their knowledge has been transcribed with utmost care. Our line goes back to the great Empire of Dawn. We are not of the line of the Amethyst Emperors, like the Valerians, but we were one of the royal family, as are the Danes of Starfar. That is why some of our family have been compared to Valerians, and the Danes are often born with purple eyes. I don't see the relevance, grandfather. I'm getting to it. Where was I? This one. Most useful. But to continue, we have always been enemies of the Valerians and their dragons, ever since we were chased out of the Andals by them. Our family has been working to undermine the line of dragons, and destroy them or supplement them. One way was to ensure that very specific Targaryen women with strong Valyrian blood or family ties do not sit the Iron Throne or have children. As interesting as this is, I don't see... Oh.
Yeah, so with this bit, we're definitely going with I wanted to put in the bit where they are very much against... There's a weird... shall we say, coincidence that a lot of the maesters seem to try to get try to make it so that the certain Targaryen women do not get on the throne. And like Dreamfire Rhaena is an example. And quite a few other, and Rhaenys as well, where Rhaenys the queen who never was. They're also seemingly biased against Rhaenys and Visenya. And so I wanted to kind of put that in that it's like, yeah, this has been a deliberate plot for several years to try and just keep them off the throne in order to make sure that the dragons don't come up. Because sea smoke hatches for Laenor, right? And if Rhaenys gets on the throne and has more kids, theoretically there's more there are more dragons. And her line getting on the Iron Throne is a bad thing for people who are anti-dragon. I also want to put the Maester conspiracy because, yeah, it's a little bit dumb, but George threw it into Dance with Dragons and Feast for Crows, so he's clearly seeding something. And he also puts quite a bit of Maester stuff where the Maesters are assholes in Fire and Blood and the World of Ice and Fire. So that's kind of my thought with this, and we just kind of say, yeah, they are descendants, they're from Andalos, and that's why they're getting chased out. And kind of the idea that I have with this is that he is just pulling books off of the shelves and just slamming them on the table. So, and just putting them on the table so that they can get all the information they need.
I'm glad your understanding is catching up, Thailand. During the days of the Conqueror, Visenya attempted to wed her son Maegor to her great niece Rhaena, Rider of Dreamfire. This was blocked, and he was wed to Cerise Hightower, a barren woman, and Rhaena remained single, at least until she wed her brother and produced a pair of twins. During Rhaena's time, dragons began to swell in numbers, and we could not allow her to have more children, so we did our best to stop the union. But Maegor disrupted our schemes. We did the same at the Great Council, with Rhaenys, as Meleys had laid an egg that hatched for Laenor.
And Rhaenyra is the same, I presume.
Exactly. It skips a generation, but we have been able to roughly predict who it will likely be. It was always a fertile daughter. Her bonds with a female dragon, who lays many clutches of eggs. That is why we attempted to put Rhaenyra in an unfavorable match with a man rumored to dislike the company of women, both to prevent her from bearing children and to discredit her if she did spread her legs and breed. That should do it. This is all the books we have on ancient Valyrian magic that we have compiled, that we will be taking with us.
Daeron looks down at the books, then nods. Tylan swallows and does the same. Otto takes a long breath and puts his hand on his grandson's shoulder. There was one other thing that he needed to know.
One thing you'll quickly learn, my boy, is that there's always another secret. Daeron, I have never...
So that's actually a Mistborn reference, because one of the things that Brandon Saracen sometimes does is he'll just say there's always another secret, as well as he coined the phrase Raffo, or the anagram Raffo, which is read and find out, and which has been transmuted into Waffo in regards to the visual media. But this is probably one of the most tinfoil theories, because admittedly, it's probably not true. The timeline doesn't quite make sense. You can chalk it up to there's lying going on, but this is kind of the most tinfoil theory I'm willing to entertain, mostly because I like the thematics of it.
I told anyone about this, but you must know your heritage. You never met your grandmother, my wife, but in truth, your grandmother was another woman. She was King Jaehaerys' daughter, Sarah Targaryen.
Both Tylan and Daeron gasp and stare at Otto. The young prince's eyes are wide as saucers, but Otto continues.
After Jaehaerys banished her from court, she was sent to the Silent Sisters. We saw an opportunity to strengthen our bloodline and produce a child who might eventually be coaxed to wed one of the Targaryen princes or princesses. I took it upon myself to make that child, and after we removed her from the sept, your mother was conceived. I wish you to know that I am very proud of you, my boy. You have demonstrated wisdom and prudence in a hard situation. You are a true son of House Hightower, and you will one day sit the Iron Throne.
Daeron takes a long breath, then straightens and nods decisively. Otto pulls his grandson into an embrace. After they have taken the books, they make...
So there's kind of more to that story. The idea, I actually wrote a full fan fiction that did include that. George doesn't should be. Yeah. Because it is actually interesting if the high and mighty Otto Hightower had sex with one of basically the female equivalent of Aegon the Unworthy. Since Sarah is basically Aegon the Unworthy if he was smart and a girl. And since, well, I put it up, but the person that I write with asked me to take it down. So I was like, all right, sure. So I did cut and paste it. I have the original. I cut and pasted the document into. Yeah, because she has sex with 3 boys. Like she gives her maidenhead to 3 boys, and very quickly, and then she gets shipped to the Silent Sisters. And then after that, she kills a Septa, escapes, and then vanishes and just shows up in Lys somehow, and just becomes a whore princess. And kind of uses the fact that it just uses Septa's robes. One day, I just have it in a Google Doc. If you want the original Google Doc of the since it wasn't really Otto and Sarah focused, it was actually an offshoot of Jaehaerys and Corianne the Wild. How much you want it? She probably did. She probably, well, since she might have, since I don't know how old Jason Lannister is. I know that Sarah at the time of the Great Council was 34. I got what you meant. No worries. Since Sarah at the time of the Great Council is 34. And theoretically, yeah, she's about 15 or so years older than Daemon. And about 12-ish older than Viserys, I think. Maybe. I should check. Can't remember. But yeah, and so I just was like, you know what? Yeah, let's just put that in, just toss that in there and make that part of the Three-Eyed Theorist continuity. And since I'm kind of the only guy writing House of the Dragon scripts, since I'm the only guy intimately familiar with the material, so there we go. It works well.
Make their preparations. Daeron is crowned in the Starry Sept, just as Aegon had been, by the High Septim. Once the new king is crowned, Daeron and his family depart. Dreamfire will cut across the mountains along with the younger dragons at night and cross the stepstones into the lands between Nyr, Tyrosh, and Lys, while Otto and Wayne Hightower take the Redwyne and Old Town fleets, along with as many troops as they can towards that location. Daeron and Tylan will go to Casterly Rock, though food does come to the...
Well, I'm only a third in. I'm going to try to kind of keep a little bit. One of the main things about it is...
capital. The taxes are running high. Unrest is building, and the commoners are growing more and more dissatisfied with their new queen. Rhaenyra starts desperately putting down any semblance of dissent, bringing in more troops from the Riverlands and Vale to keep the small folk in line, frequently having Daemon and Caraxes fly over the realm to remind them of who held the power. Letters are sent to Casterly Rock and Old Town demanding their fealty. Each letter met with empty pleasantries. They continue to search for the treasury and eventually deduce that it must be in Old Town or the Rock, as they are the most secure locations for the Greens. Under the cover of darkness, Daeron and Viserion fly to Casterly Rock, surprising...
Yeah, with this, I just kind of wanted to show the what is going to happen. A lot of people are complaining, why aren't you showing Rhaenyra as a good queen? It's like, well, this is what she does in canon. I'm sorry. I wanted to include Johanna Lannister in this because yeah, he's only 8 years younger. Maybe. Sorry, what? Yeah, she's not, because she taxes people. She is out of money. She's in a desperate situation. She has to tax people in order to try and keep things going. And so that's what I decided to do here, where she's going to create a lot of unrest. A lot of people are not going to like her. And yeah, lovable and cheery buffoon versus his Joan of Arc badass wife. Like Joanna Lannister fits in with George's archetype of Amazon woman. It says that she probably didn't do fighting. Yeah, she probably didn't do fighting, but I'm like, no, I choose to disbelieve that. I reject your reality and substitute my own. I actually, I might have that exact quote.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
And I felt like I'm going to have her fight. And she did fight in the Harwin marrying Rhaenyra episode. So I was like, yeah, and I wanted her to kind of be the actual smart person. And I really liked writing their dynamic where he's this doofy, just doofy loser who married way above her. The woman castrated an 8-year-old. Yeah, fighting death probably isn't. Yeah, she probably fought and killed, since the songs say that she killed 12 Ironborn, and she probably did as well. Like she's hard. Joanna Lannister is hardcore, and I honestly wish that we can. I want to include her in more stuff. She's awesome.
And Joanna, Tylan quickly explains the situation to his brother and sister-in-law. Both agree to start funneling the money away onto a ship that will be coming soon. Once that part is settled, Daeron steps forward.
Lord and Lady Lannister, your services to me and mine have been invaluable. I wish to reward you.
Oh, I almost forgot. So there's actually a little bit of a scare with this episode. So Boba was trying to just kind of working on the episode, and because the interface is sometimes not very user friendly, he ended up accidentally trimming all of the narration. And since one thing that I do is I'll listen to all of my episodes in advance and just do it just because I want to, because I'm like, yeah, I want to hear it in advance. I'm eager. And I listened to this and I was like, wait, why is there why is it blank? Why is there no narration? Is there something missing? And then I was like, oh, there's dialogue that's missing, then dialogue. So oh yeah, aside from play acting, we'll see that in a bit. But I put it in that, yeah, poor pure theater kid, that one. But yeah, Boba, when he accidentally trimmed all of the narration out, because the button for trim and the button for another button that he was using are next to each other. So I texted. So I went to him, and I was like, "Hey, Boba, um, uh, um, so I said I just texted him, hey, sorry to bother you, but I checked the audio for the yeah. So I checked it. I was like, hey, I checked the audio, and the first 3 minutes and 10 seconds are muted and there's audio missing. The only thing there is a single Rhaenys line. Oh shoot, there's a few spots that are scattered throughout. And as I listened to it, I said, I think all of the narration is missing. And Boba just went, oh dang, let me check. I kind of have to show this. It's not nothing personal with Cher, but it's just like this is kind of what he said. I just laughed so hard. No, he did record it. It's just that he accidentally deleted it. Since in the interface, he accidentally pressed the trim button. So what he did was he was able to he didn't take too long to redo, because he just had to redo the entire narration. But yeah, it was, I know. Yeah, crisis averted. Oh yeah, I was yeah, probably. Yeah, I was just looking at, I was like, Boba, the narration's missing. And he just swore, and it was really funny. But it was one of those moments where it's like, we might have a problem. Like the whole thing's missing. Yeah.
You by joining our houses together, though there might be some slight oddities. This is an incredible offer. I accept.
What are these oddities, Prince Daeron? I'm not going to agree to let my daughter anywhere until I know all the details.
Would it be possible to bring her to talk through this?
Whether or not she is to be my queen, I would like to talk with her about the plan. Jason quickly summons his daughter. Despite his wife giving him a stern look, when Tashara is brought there, she immediately rushes to Daeron and gives him a hug. Joanna notices how warm her daughter is with the prince and tilts her head, as well as how the young lad seems to not want to let go of the lady's hand. Thank you for coming at this hour, Tashara. I have asked for your hand, if you are willing, but there are inherent dangers that I wish to shield your family from. If this match were to be made public, it would draw scrutiny to you, and it would be best if we can smuggle it away. The thoughts that I have is that I pretend to kidnap you, and your father can pretend that I have taken you away.
I get to play act? How marvelous.
Really? This is the plan?
I think it sounds like an adventure, Mother. I'm going. I will happily be your queen in exile in Essos, Prince Daeron.
Jason clasps Daeron on the shoulder and grabs some wine to
and this bit is, I find very funny because it's basically, I get to play act. How marvelous. They know each other. Didn't explain how that happened. My thought was he just went over to the rock periodically to to visit and to gain to build alliances, since Castle Rock and Old Town are actually very, very close. So I was like, okay, that's not outside the realm of possibility that maybe he went to like a tournament or something up in there. And I love that he just goes, I get to play act. How marvelous. And I decided, I just want to make him this doofy loser who likes to play a act. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of wanted to do that because to give him a little bit of character, because I think that would be funny. And his wife is like, really? That's your plan, to kidnap my daughter, or act like you kidnapped my daughter? That's your plan? And Tashara's like the kind of adventurous girl who's been shut up for a long time.
Celebrate. Tylan breathes a long sigh of relief and starts gulping down wine. Joanna shrewdly watches the silver-haired prince and her golden-haired daughter talking, her misgivings about the possible danger still playing in her mind, but they're slowly eroded as she sees that they seem to like each other. After...
Yeah, you got to... yeah, I kind of did. I let me actually pull that up, because that I feel very happy about that one. Where I feel decently about that one. That one could have been... was a little bit better than it had any right to be, but let me actually pull that up, because I really find that let me pull that up.
At Caraxes, who lashes Jason and lets out a whining noise as Daemon climbs off his back. I hate Jason Lannister.
What did he do?
That fucking buffoon of a lion told me to my face that if he wanted to marry his daughter to a third son, he would marry him to Prince Daeron, since he's not going to have to wait 16 years for him to be grown up. He also had the temerity to say, since Lord Fleabottom wasted all his gold on the City Watcher's cloaks, he has no interest in... Why are you laughing?
I've never heard of anyone either brave or stupid enough to insult you to your face and live. Also, wasting your gold on the City Watcher's cloaks.
Hilarious, cousin. Anyway, for fuck's sake, are you going to stop laughing sometime today?
It's more that he dared to say that to you than anything else. I hope your pride isn't so badly damaged.
I hate you. After Rhaenyra gets control of herself, the three of them...
I honestly love using that Emperor's New Groove quote. Yeah, she's like, I want an adventure. I want to get out. I want to have fun. And I even kind of put in a little bit, but where she wants to wear a Lysani dress and is kind of like, there's just some girls that are like kind of a little bit like Nynaeve Elmira in the Wheel of Time, where she's like, those dresses are indecent, but they're so beautiful. I want to wear one. And she's like, I would never wear this one in public, even for my husband. It's so beautiful. And then just a whole lot of funny stuff with Nynaeve Elmira because she's a hypocrite.
For discussion with Tylan regarding the full part of the plan, Joanna agrees to the match and puts their preparations in place to move the money out, hidden inside the frameworks of several boxes full of clothes and other merchandise. The next morning, Tashara is carefully positioned on a large balcony on the seaward side of Casterly Rock. Jason and Joanna looking on. Casually, Tashara kicks off her shoes and puts them in her pack.
It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
Who are you trying to convince?
Myself. There, look.
Desarian drops from the sky, claws outstretched. Knowing her part, Tashara pulls out her hand, allowing the blue dragon to snatch her up and fly away.
I think except for Tylan is definitely screaming out, how am I related to these kids? I think at least that Joanna is at least somewhat intelligent, but Tashara is kind of like kind of the rebel girl who's kind of been in a little bit of a conservative household, I guess.
Point, Jason and Joanna start screaming, and it's only partially an act, at least until they hear their daughter's laugh on the wind as the dragon glides away.
Help! Help! The dragon has stolen my daughter! Help!
Do you think they believe it?
Help! Shoot him or something!
You are the soul of play acting, my love. One of your many, many talents that thankfully did not pass to our children.
Oh, thank you. Wait, what do you mean?
Tashara laughs as
It's one of my favorite bits of comedic writing. I still laugh at it. Boba did such a good job where I just wrote in unconvincing play acting. Help! Help! The dragon is stolen. I wrote the line, and his delivery just makes so much better. Oh god, it's so funny. So freaking funny. It's hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of want to continue the Jason Lannister as the play acting. Yeah, it's really funny. Which of my hey Sunfish. I would definitely say that my favorite what if is the what if Daemon and Rhea Royce had a trueborn son? That is definitely my favorite. I would say that one's my top favorite. I feel like that one is the one that every piece of it was deliberate. It was incredibly tight. There was like no wasted effort. The ending is really solid. It manages to really stick the landing. It's very emotional, very heartbreaking. There's a lot of pathos. I feel like I pulled off a lot of really tough writing choices. If I were to pick second, it would probably be Ned raising the Targs as a second, as my second favorite, tied with Tywin finding out about Jon, and then my third would be Robert declaring independence. Those would be kind of my top that I feel like I did the best on. Those would definitely be the ones that I'm thinking of. But those would be the big ones I would think of that would be my top. I hope that answers your question.
Daeron soars above the water, feeling like she was flying herself. A slow smile crosses Daeron's face as they get out of sight. An idea has occurred to him. Still grinning, he drops downward toward the water. Tessarion glides right above the sea, letting Tashara trail her feet through the water, creating a line of ripples. After he's found a suitable spot of land, Daeron has Tessarion set her down, then extends his hand toward her. Eagerly, the golden-haired girl takes his hand, lets her pull her onto his dragon saddle. Impulsively, she gives him a kiss on the cheek, which causes him to smile and blush.
Are you ready to leave this all behind? It's not going to be glamorous. We're likely going to live in a tent at points.
I mean what I said. It sounds like an adventure, and honestly, I'm happy to get out of the rock. It's really stuffy.
Well, I'm glad I can steal you away. Come on, let's go. We're going to Lys first.
We're going to Lys. I'll tell you a secret. It's terribly wicked. You know those Lyseni gowns? I've always wanted to wear one, but my mother never let me do it. Claimed they were indecent. But I don't know. They just look so fashionable and beautiful.
Daeron nods slowly, then he leans his head back and kisses her. Tashara puts his arm around him and leans her head against his shoulder. After Daeron and Tashara, Jason and Joanna put on a good show of anger at having their daughter abducted by...
Hey, how's it going? Nice to see you too, Tachi. Corpse Queen Allison looking like Alysanna from Dark Souls 2. I haven't really gotten through Dark Souls 2. Huh. Interesting. I did not imagine her looking like that. Interesting. Okay. I more imagined her as looking like this. Kind of more along the lines of this instead. That was kind of the idea. Let me pull that up. Song, Ice and Fire. Yeah, stuff like this. That's kind of how I imagine it. DLC. Okay, nice. I have played Elden Ring. It's funny. I have played Dark Souls 1 and 2 several times, Elden Ring a few times. I haven't played the DLC for all of the DLC for Elden Ring. I just haven't had the time. And I honestly find motivating myself to play video games is kind of kind of infrequent since I am I'm just writing so much that I'm just I don't have the time. Yeah, maybe one of these days. I got a lot of commentaries that I need to get to. I'm doing a two for today because I'm on one. I kind of want to just say, hey, let's just do a compare and contrast with these two stories, and let's just keep. And so, yeah, I just
by Prince Daeron, offering a huge reward for his capture and return of Tashara. When the news is widely spread that he has fled to Essos, they even speak about organizing an expedition to retrieve her. When Daeron arrives in Lys, he and Tashara set out to purchase new clothes, and Tashara drags him to one of the major dress shops. As soon as they enter, the owner walks up to them with a smile, though it becomes slightly sickly when they see that they're slightly worn. That immediately turns to wide-eyed greed when Daeron places a case on the table, turns it around, and opens to reveal several clips of gold dragons.
My good man, my betrothed requires a new wardrobe. She's very special to me, so I do hope that you will afford her every courtesy and make your best wares available. We're going to be spending an obscene amount of money here. Oh, my lord, you're in the right place. We shall give the lady our best, and I'll have my best girl helping her. Exactly how obscene an amount of money are we discussing? Is it profane or really offensive? Really offensive. I like him so much.
The shopkeeper claps and summons a group of...
Yeah, Pretty I actually really like the movie Pretty Woman. I think it's really, really funny. Yeah, I was like, yeah, let's just do a little Pretty Woman reference just for the sake of it. I think that would be funny. And kind of she's just kind of a girly girl who likes dresses. And he's like, hey, we're going to be spending an obscene amount of money here since he's essentially flush with cash. He's got an absurd amount of money that he can spend. And this kind of allows, and the fact that they think that Tashara has been kidnapped allows them to kind of keep from being observed, or at least keep from being seen as a threat. One thing that I could have done a little bit better on is Daemon and Rhaenys chasing after them, because I think that they would. And I do remedy that in the other video where Daemon and Rhaenys are trying to find Daeron and kill him, because they kind of have to. But one thing that I should have done is that they don't chase after him. They kind of focus on the Seven Kingdoms problem and let the green problem fester, which thematically kind of happens in Fire and Blood, but there's a few more logical justifications for it in there, and I kind of did some smushing. So yeah, not the best, but I think you have a dragon. Yes, burn that forsaken summer. I love this joke. That's funny. Maybe I need to put that in there. I think that I'm definitely going to put that in there. That Jason Lannister's summer mansion.
Girls to help Tashara with getting dressed. Each time Tashara tries on a new dress, she excitedly checks herself in the mirror, while Daeron observes the whole thing. When he actually sees her in a city dress, Daeron knows exactly why Joanna Lannister didn't want her daughter wearing it. The Lady of Casterly Rock would not allow her daughter to walk around in a dress with no back or sleeves. She does look beautiful, the most beautiful sight Daeron has ever seen. It wasn't the dress that made her gorgeous, it was her that made the dress gorgeous. As Tashara checks the fit of a green dress that really brought out the color of her eyes in the mirror, Daeron walks up behind her and strokes her bare back with his fingertips. Tashara preens, clearly happy with the attention, leaning backward into his chest as he puts his arms around her and starts swaying back and forth. For a while, Daeron just holds her and looks at the two of them in the mirror. This felt so right. As he holds her and kisses her cheek, some of the darkness hanging over him since the death of his family starts ebbing away. Daeron and Tashara begin talks with the Magisters. In exchange for monetary assistance, Daeron's forces will help them. Mir and Tyrosh occupy Valentis and Pentos. Tashara also leverages her family's connections, though they are instructed to keep the Lannister involvement in their plans a secret, as Tashara is still considered a captive. Seeing his dragon, his Lannister wife, and knowing about the army that waits in the disputed lands, they agree to his terms. Tyrosh and Mir and Lys soon pledge their support in exchange for subduing Pentos and Valentis for them. Now that all is secure, Daeron and Tashara fly to meet the army. Once they've been assembled, Daeron addresses his army.
To all of you loyal men, I give you my thanks. You have come with no oath or bond compelling you, only your loyalty to my family. Your deeds will not be forgotten, nor will I fail to reward that which is given. Fealty with love, valor with...
Yeah, so this is basically a series of Lord of the Rings quotes from Daeron, from Denethor to Pippin, as well as the Oath of Fëanor.
Honor, betrayal, vengeance. We shall be considered exiles and cast off by the usurper Rhaenyra and the murderer Rhaenys. Today, we shall form a brotherhood and bind ourselves with an oath swearing by our blood that we will overthrow Rhaenyra and her brood of bastards. Will you follow me?
As one, the assembled army rises, a cheer,
The Oath of Blue Fire,
friend or foe,
yeah.
and any who stand in the way of justice.
It's also actually a covert reference to an LDS movie called The Testaments, Matrix Targaryen. Yeah, I was like, yeah, why not? It actually fits ironically well with the naming conventions.
Will have no mercy. No dragon army nor kingdom shall spread or withstand their fury. Death shall come to whoever seeks to withhold the Iron Throne from the true blood of Viserys and Alicent. Let the ruins of old Valyria bear witness, and the Seven remember the vow. Once it has been said, Daeron draws Blackfire and raises it into the air as Viserion spreads her wings and shrieks at the sky. From that point, they are known as the Sapphire Brotherhood, and all who join them must swear the oath. After the speech, Daeron talks with Helena. His older sister has been distant for weeks, barely talking, only spending time with her children. Seeing her struggles, Daeron offers to help her with the twins and Maelor, which she accepts.
Why did he have to die?
Aegon? I don't know. The gods are cruel.
Aemond, he was kind to me. He never treated me like I was dim-witted like everyone else does, and he saved me when he didn't have to. It's not fair.
Daeron pauses, unable to come up with an answer. Instead, he just gives his sister a hug so she can cry on his shoulder. The weight of responsibility starts setting in. Was he ready for all this? Was he ready to be a general, a caretaker, a king? Did it really matter? Fate had thrust this upon him, and now he had to leave childhood behind and take up the mantle that the gods had set upon him. The attack on Volantis is sudden and destructive.
Yeah, with this bit, I wanted to illustrate that he's just a kid being forced into a position that he's not really ready for, and he is feeling all of this weight of responsibility on him. And this stuff I feel like I do really well. It's mainly the ending. I really rushed the ending. I was like, I am running out of track for this. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And I probably could have relocated a lot of space. But yeah, we're kind of getting into the slightly sloppier bits as we go forward.
Dreamfire and Tessarion attack the gates first, allowing their Hightower Lannister and Triarchy soldiers to rush into the city. The slaves are quickly armed and enlisted into Daeron's cause, and soon the first daughter of Valyria falls to Daeron Blueflame. Once the city is taken, Daeron and his family establish themselves behind the Black Walls, using this as their new base. After they have secured Volantis and all of its wealth, the Sapphire Brotherhood marches to Pentos and takes it. Lannister men soon arrive and are inducted into the army. Now that Daeron has a base far from his enemy, he sets about his next plan, which is to start building a name for himself. His first step is flying to Bravos to speak with the Iron Bank. In the guise of a pair of Lysini nobles, he and Otto enter the Iron Bank and give the required password to check on the Crown's funds. Once they've secured it, Daeron has a private conversation with one of the bankers.
I know that you likely have problems with people who do not pay their dues. Allow me to offer the services of the Sapphire Brotherhood to ensure that your loans are made good on. It will require a commission as well as reimbursement for my expenses. Armies marching on their stomachs and their coin purses, you understand.
The bankers agree to this deal and open a line of credit for him specifically for that purpose. Satisfied that the wheels are in motion, Daeron bows, but before he goes, he adds one more thing.
Oh, I almost forgot. If the Iron Throne happens to attempt to renege on their loans, you know where to find me.
Over the next few months, Rhaenyra's rule becomes more and more rocky. Taxes are high, and the loans from the Iron Bank have rapidly compounded interest rates. Even after Daemon and Rhaenys attack Old Town and attempt to seize the High Tower's gold, they find little remaining. Loans are taken from everywhere, from Casterly Rock to Highgarden. Though they hear about Daeron establishing himself in Essos, they are unable to raise the funds to try chasing after him, especially since they cannot afford to risk an uprising or a trap. Daemon's concern rapidly grows as news of Volantis and Pentos reaches them. Larys Strong also spins a web of propaganda, planting a whisper here, a rumor there. He also starts setting fires in critical buildings in King's Landing and on the ship.
Yeah, this one actually was taken from Empyrean Speaks as an idea that I actually quite liked, where he actually starts setting fires and is rapidly bleeding money out of the crown. And causing dissent. I think that this bit is good. I think that I should have made it take longer. That's one of the problems that I had. I also had kind of the issue of if the dragons live, that creates problems. The reason being, theoretically, if Rhaenys and Daemon, my thought was that they are going to try striking before other people can claim Melees and Craxies. That was my thought, because Rhaenys and Daemon are getting old, they're about to die, and they're likely going to be somewhat incapacitated, which means the two of the big dragons are not going to be there. And then from there, they can tag team. I probably should have made it a little bit harder to get Silverwing and Vermithor, but I digress.
The royal fleet, causing the crown to start bleeding money as they desperately attempt to repair the damage. Daemon and the Gold Clubs attempt to find these arsonists, but they might as well be ghosts disappearing into the populace. After a year, Daeron and Tashara welcome a pair of twins, a boy and a girl, Maedhros and Alicera, both with silver hair and purple eyes. Though Maedhros has a green eye offsetting his purple one, Daeron proudly displays his sons to the Sapphire Brotherhood, who cheer for the king and queen. Years pass, and Daeron and the Sapphire Brotherhood become the most sought-after army in Essos. Aegon and Helena's children grow up with Daeron and Tashara as a second father and mother, as Otto serves as his hand in exile. Once the twins and their dragons are old enough, Daeron and Tessarion fly out alongside Jaehaerys and Shrikos and Jaehaera on Morgul to war across Essos, the banner of the Blue Dragon on black flying over the Sapphire Brotherhood. With no confinements, the three dragons rapidly grow to match Caraxes and Meleys. Soon, the Sapphire Brotherhood becomes the most feared and sought-after mercenary company in all of Essos, rapidly growing in both discipline and battlefield experience, as Daeron incorporates the tactics of his foes into his own units. From horse archers like the Dothraki, Laird, Spear, and Pikemen, with all the knowledge they have, Daeron and Otto manage to hatch 4 of their eggs, though they keep Maelor, Maedhros, and Alisara from claiming the dragons, so they're open to claiming one of the larger unclaimed dragons. Despite his success in Essos, Daeron slowly grows more and more homesick, remembering all the good times he'd had in Westeros, either with his family in Old Town or even with the Strong Boys before Rhaenys had murdered his brothers. After his and Tashara's children have come of age, Daeron begins contemplating a daring plan to retake the Seven.
That kind of figures being the insane sociopath. I like the idea that Vhagar Caraxes. That's interesting that Caraxes is kind of a psychopath. I probably should put that in there. Completely rewriting Game of Thrones. I know that there is a plan for the future that once we reach 100 subs, that we will rewrite the final seasons. Only better as a purchase. It's funny. I like that. That's funny. That is funny. Yeah. That is funny. That is really funny, honestly. That's really funny. I like that. That's the plan as of this point in time, where the plan is, if once we reach 100 subs, which at the moment we're very close to breaking 70, which I'm very, very pleased about. We're growing at a very rapid rate. I'm very happy about that. That's honestly really pleasing to me. I have to say, I'm very happy about that, and I feel, to a certain extent, I'm very happy with that, since about 30 of that has come since I joined the channel, which I'm very, very happy about. So I claim some measure of credit for that. But yeah, now we have to get into the sloppy bits.
Kingdom's news of Rhaenyra's extremely unpopular rule had been sent to him by Larys, and the realm seemed to be ripe for turning on the Whore Queen. Daemon and Rhaenys were also growing older, and if he didn't strike now before they died, younger, more fit riders would take their place. Another incentive to go to war is Otto taking ill and becoming bedridden. Daeron and Tashara sit at the old hand's side, watching as the elder statesman starts breathing more raggedly. Daeron wonders if perhaps this would be his fate, to die far from home, in exile away from the land he cared about. Finally, Otto passes away. Daeron swallows and starts silently crying as Tashara holds him in recognition.
So I think it's a little bit older than let me see, when was the oldest video made? So the oldest video, okay, so that's about a year. So okay. So yeah, almost 70. Yeah, so we've almost doubled we've almost doubled since December, funnily enough, by 1 year old. Yeah, I was just wondering, because I honestly thought that for a little bit it was a little bit older, but yeah, it's been a year, so it's only been a year. Funny.
Recognition of his service,
We've
Daeron names
increased
Tyler
quite a
as his
bit
hand in
since
exile, which the
December.
older man graciously accepts. Deep in thought, Daeron sits on a balcony, looking out over Volantis. He was going to have to fight, and not just him, his sons and his niece and nephews would as well. The sound draws his attention to Tashara stepping out onto the balcony. Smiling, Daeron raises his arm so his wife can cuddle up against him.
You're thinking about Westeros again, aren't you? Otto's death is still haunting you.
You know me well, love. The time is getting close. If I don't move soon, the window of opportunity.
Yeah, so with this, I wanted to kind of put in why they are moving like this, and I probably should have had more losses. That was one of the problems that I had with this, is I feel like I justified why they're doing it. It's Daeron is moving in, but I should have had more deaths on the green side. I think that probably would have been wiser. Have it be a little bit more costly, and have some stuff. I suggested it, but it has not been put into the till. I think at the moment we have basically everything until the end of the year planned, and the last House of the Dragon video is going to be Is it which one? It's somewhere in here. 9/11 would have been fun to see. Yeah, slowly obsessing over his revenge. Yeah, I probably should have put more in there because he's a pretty hardcore dude in the books, and it's kind of sad because he's a kind of classic heroic character in the book, which is ironic because yeah. And also I think that I should have. I think the problem was I was running out of word count because at this point we're kind of like, I wanted to have a little bit more time for the climax. I think the main thing was I probably should have had him stewing a little bit more. Yeah, that's a good
Twins
point.
will be closed, but if I go, I'm taking the twins with me and my brother's children. I have a plan, but I'm scared for them.
I know. A man can't really be brave unless he's afraid.
That sounds like one of your mother's pearls of wisdom.
Of course it is. My father is a lovable fool, but he's still a fool. God's bless him. I assume you want me to stay here and manage things in Volantis?
I trust nobody else but you two to handle things now that Otto is...
I know. He meant a great deal to you. I'll miss you all and worry about my husband and children going off to war, but I know this is something you need to do. Let's just make the most of our time together as a family before you leave.
Within a few days, Daeron gathers his and Helena's children and gives them their instructions. He will hit Driftmark and kill Rhaenys, while Jaehaerys and Jaehaera take Medros, Alisara, and Maelor to Dragonstone and King's Landing, respectively, on Shrikos and Morgul. Each of them would have to claim one of the riderless dragons quickly.
There's going to be a distraction that will draw attention away from the Dragon Pit, and hopefully it will kill some of our enemies. But best not count on it. Before we go, I just want to talk to you all. You've looked up to me as your father, and I see you as my children. This is our chance. This is our...
I asked if I could make this into a two-parter, and I think we got kind of Alisara. Yeah. Yeah. How did I forget that? Shara? Okay, maybe. Daeron is supporting, maybe. Yeah. I think that was a big part of it. I would definitely say that it was definitely a oh man, that's funny. That would maybe I do like I quite like Malekith, that boss from Elden Ring. He's fun. This kind of weird mutant lion. But yeah, I was like, all right, I am only going to be able to do this in one part, and I need to keep this under the word count. I actually just made that up by accident. I actually made that up. I just named her kind of a mix of Alysanne and Sarah, and just kind of mixed and matched. Oh, Malekith, the Witch King from... Wow. No, I actually am not familiar with Warhammer Fantasy at all. That is a complete coincidence. Yeah, that's a complete coincidence. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's a complete coincidence. That's a complete coincidence, funnily enough. That is 100% not my intention. Sorry.
Our time. Today, we've chosen not just to believe in ourselves, but in each other as a family. None of us will stand alone. Today, we shall face the tyrants who took our home and bring the fight to them. Today, we are reclaiming the Iron Throne.
Daeron and Aegon.
Yeah, so that's a kind of a combination of Pacific Rim, where I have never actually, never actually watched Pacific Rim 2. it looked interesting, and then the reviews were beyond awful, and it didn't look like a good movie, just based on what I could see. Yeah, one kid being a high elf and the other being a dark elf was way too funny. Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, well, let me see. Yeah. It's not horrible accident. Yeah, I just think it's funny. Yeah, it is. But yeah, let me see what it did. It's way, way below the first part. I'm not sure I understand. Way below the first part. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's very, yeah. The first part starts out good, but then the second part I had to rush really
His children
hard.
embrace him, then run to their dragons. Before they do,
Yeah. I wouldn't tell you what it. Yeah. Oh, Pacific Rim. I was very, very angry at just even the summary and the fact that they just arbitrarily kill her off. I was like, okay, that's lame. No. Um, I and so I just kind of put the couple of Pentecost lines from in there, and just kind of reworked it.
Daeron pulls Maedhros aside, his oldest son, different colored eyes, giving him a slightly mismatched look, but Daeron had always liked it. It was almost like Maedhros was
Okay, this is kind of annoying. Well, one of the things that I don't know why they do this, because this is
him. Daeron swallows and places a hand on his son's shoulder.
Maedhros, I am sorry to place this burden on you, but you must claim Vermithor. If you do not, then our entire war is in jeopardy. I know that this is a heavy task, but I know that you will live up to my expectations of you. I won't fail you, Father. I promise.
I provided them with an image, and they decided to go with an Aegon the Fifth. I was like, I provided you with Daeron the Young Dragon. Please use Daeron the Young Dragon. What is wrong with you? It fits perfectly. Perfectly. Come on. Yeah, I was just I was so like annoyed. I was very, very frustrated. I was very, very frustrated with that, honestly. So now we kind of have. We're in the kind of sloppy climax.
Daeron pulls his son into an embrace.
I was like, I don't know how to end this.
Taking a long, deep breath, Daeron walks
I
over
didn't want to do a
Viserion
bloody.
and starts stroking the blue dragon under the chin.
We're finally going back to where we belong, girl. You can feel it too. The call of the seagulls over Old Town, the wind through the trees in the Kingswood, the thunder above Storm's End, the waves crashing against the shores of Dragonstone. Can you imagine being called home by the clear ringing of silver trumpets, the banners caught high in the morning breeze, and I would have nobody but you at my side?
Viserion purrs and nuzzles at him, patting his dragon on the neck. Daeron climbs up to her back and urges her into the sky. The three dragons travel at night, keeping out of sight as they glide toward their targets. Jaehaerys and Maelor glide to the Kingswood and hide their dragons in the forest, while Daeron and Jaehaera take Maedhros and Alisara toward Dragonstone. Viserion and Morgul drop towards Dragonstone, close to the caves where Vermithor and Silverwing are resting. Daeron and Jaehaera quickly kill the dragon keepers guarding the two ancient beasts, allowing Maedhros and Alisara to run to the beasts. When the two dragons lift up on their wing claws,
Borderline insane, vengeful ghost. Yeah, I guess Daeron is kind of like that, I guess. But yeah, I probably I made a mistake. I didn't make them harder to get to. I should have made it a lot harder for them to get through. I should have had Vhagar guarding them.
His children approach Vermithor and Silverwing. All of the tension leaves him when the great bronze dragon sniffs Maedhros and Silverwing nuzzles Alisara. Now that they have two dragons, Daeron sends the female riders toward the houses sworn to Dragonstone, while he has Maedhros and Vermithor stay on Dragonstone. Now that Dragonstone is taken, ships start funneling Sapphire Brotherhood troops into Blackwater Bay, into Duskendale and Cracklaw Point. Silently, Tessarion descends toward Driftmark under the cover of darkness, the Valyrian fleet resting at anchor around the island. Daeron remembered coming here for Laena and Laenor's funerals all those years ago, the day Aemond lost his eye. Simpler times those had been, when he had thought that life of a third son would be his lot. Now he was king, gripping his saddle horns tightly. Daeron drops towards the Valyrian fleet. Screams and cries rise up from the men on the ships as the vessels are bathed in fire. Rhaenys and Corlys watch the burning of the fleet in horror, the flames illuminating the Blue Queen as she begins flying toward the high tide. Corlys implores Rhaenys to flee, but Meleys is too far away to get to. Besides, Rhaenys barely had the strength to stand. Tessarion hovers above Corlys' beautiful castle, letting Daeron take a moment to fix it in his mind before delivering the fatal blow.
Dracarys!
Tessarion opens her maw and blasts the castle with fire. Corlys and Rhaenys hold each other as the flames wash over the high tide, consuming all within. Daeron lands Tessarion on a rocky outcropping overlooking the ruin of House Valyrian. Opening her jaws, Tessarion roars out in triumph as she ascends toward the sky. When the news of Tessarian's attack on High Tide reaches King's Landing, Rhaenyra immediately has Rhaena fly with Vhagar toward the island to challenge Daeron and his dragon. After Rhaena departs, another message arrives from the Reach. The whole of the region has risen up in rebellion, declaring that Rhaenyra was a false queen and a usurper, and offering their support for Daeron Blueflame. Not wishing to wait, Daemon rides to the dragon pit along with Jacaerys to mount their dragon. Jacaerys notices the old prince hobbling toward Caraxes, using a cane to keep himself upright.
You all right, father? Need any help? No, I need no help. The day I am too old to climb onto my dragon without help is the day I give up living.
Jacaerys gives him a skeptical look, which Daemon ignores.
Yeah, with this, I just wanted to, with the destruction of High Tide, I feel like that was pretty well done, personally. Kind of the part that comes in a little bit later, that's a little bit, it's kind of what comes later, because I think that they wouldn't necessarily be prepared on Driftmark for it, and that Daeron would be able, if he did it in the middle of the night, he would be able to take him out. The problem is, I tried to make it flow logically, but as far as the move and counter move, but I think that the ultimate, the war and the fact that there wasn't more casualties, I think it was just I got too attached to these characters and I just let that bias kind of cloud my thought process, and I should have been thinking about that. There's also I did want to kind of put in this little fun bit of Daemon is this old crotchety old man. Yeah, you probably would have hated it. You probably would. It's on purpose. Yeah, that's a good point.
He climbs onto Caraxes' back. It's very stiff, and clearly Daemon is out of breath when he gets onto the Bloodworm's back, but finally he gets onto his dragon. Coughing and wheezing, Daemon sighs and glances down at Jacaerys.
You coming, or are you going to stand there looking at me like I'm some sort of invalid?
Blowing at his cheeks, Jacaerys climbs onto Vermax's back and flies out of the dragon pit toward the
perfect.
Westlands. Aegon the Younger begins to patrol the skies on his dragon, Stormcloud, along with Viserys the Younger and Seasmoke. Lucerys and Arax start patrolling the skies along his half-brothers. Smoke suddenly rises from the Riverlands. Another dragon attack is spread across Blackwood and Tullylands. Right as the two younger fly off to the face of the enemy, Larys sets fire in the Red Keep. When the smoke starts spreading, Baela and Joffrey attempt to break out of their rooms, but the doors are too strong and they are burned alive. Rhaenyra is broken out of her rooms by Sir Eric Cargyle and Sir Steffan Darkland, but the Queen is coughing badly. Lucerys is trapped in his rooms but manages to break out, only to collapse from smoke inhalation. One of Larys' agents puts a knife into the prince's heart under the guise of checking for a pulse, then declares him to be dead. As all eyes are on the Red Keep, Maelor and Jacaerys fly into the city and make their way over the milling crowds toward the dragon pit. Shrikos shoots through the door, then drops through the hole in the ground. Maelor runs to Sunfire. Eagerly, Sunfire nuzzles Maelor, almost as if he already knew him.
Do you remember me? My father loved you, Sunfire. You ready to pay back the people who killed him?
Letting out a musical call, Sunfire allows the lad to climb on his back. Both dragons fly out of the dragon pit, flying toward the Reach. When the theft of Sunfire is discovered, along with the deaths of two of her sons and daughter-in-law, Rhaenyra starts to break down. The walls were rapidly shrinking down around her, and the enemy had taken her children from her. Rhaena flies above Blackwater Bay toward Driftmark, Vhagar roaring out a challenge as Tessarion flies to meet her. For the first time in a very long time, Daeron feels fear as Vhagar advances toward him. The ancient she-dragon was huge, twice the size
one
of
of the things that I was kind of irritated by in the comments, that it's like, the one comment that I had was, that I thought was kind of, that was inaccurate, that I did actually try to account for, is that the fact that the dragons are growing, that they would be, since we have kind of an example of Caraxes and Melees are pretty large dragons by the time of the age of 16. And so my thought process was they're going to be large enough to face off against Melees and Caraxes by this point in time. And so, yeah, that's the only critique that I felt was slightly inaccurate and was a little bit annoying. But other than that, I'm like, yeah, there's some legit criticism. This was kind of rushed, and I should have made more casualties. I do feel like that this fight was actually well done, though. I feel like I did a good job with this fight.
Daeron glances down at Blackfire, then steels himself as his oath sparks in his mind. He would end the reign of the usurpers, and Vhagar stood in his way.
Angos, Tessarion.
Roaring, Tessarion charges toward Vhagar, the smaller blue dragon's wings accelerating her toward the terrible foe. Roaring in challenge, Vhagar.
One thing that's fair. I would say the main thing that I was thinking of is that she's kind of the only option, sadly, because of the fact that Viserys is a toddler, actually much older than Caraxes, and he's still described as a small dragon. And maybe that's the fact that he's on an island, maybe. I'm not sure though. I really don't know. Small dragon. I don't think he was really described as small. Let me actually check sheep stealer. Sheep stealer. Red or golden. Wild male. They don't really describe him as so. Okay, so sheep stealer is over 50 years old. Large and slender build is the thing that I'm seeing right here for sheep stealer. There isn't really a whole lot of information about him. It's unclear when he hatched, since he's younger than Vermithor. Okay, so there's some discrepancies here.
Unleashes a blast of fire at the Blue Queen, but Daeron evades and rakes Vhagar's side with her claws. The roar of challenge turns into a howl of pain. Clearly enraged, Vhagar attempts to snatch her enemy out of the air with her fangs, forcing Daeron to evade. After several minutes of battle, Daeron carefully starts...
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Because it's like dragon growth is not consistent, and it's very frustrating. And so that's kind of my thought. And even then, he doesn't kill. They tag team Vhagar because that's the only way.
Ground to Rhaena, making it seem he was trying to retreat, but he just needed to get her near Driftmark. Rhaena pursues Daeron toward the seat of House Valyrian. Vhagar's flames chasing after Daeron as the blue dragon dodges and weaves around her. A sudden roar from the burned-out wreck of High Tide causes Rhaena to turn. Horror rises inside of her as Maedhros and Vermithor rise into the sky toward her, opening his jaws. The Bronze Fury unleashes a blast of fire into the air in a challenge. Now, with a larger dragon as reinforcement, Daeron starts attacking more viciously as Vermithor flies toward Vhagar. For a long moment, Rhaena looks back at King's Landing. She could flee, but Daeron's speed would allow her to inflict a slow death by 1,000 cuts until Vermithor could close with them. Knowing there was no retreat, Rhaena firms a resolve and moves to engage with the enemy dragons. Vermithor crashes into Vhagar, the two dragons biting and snapping at each other. Daeron flies around them, blasting Vhagar with flames and causing the great she-dragon to scream in pain. Rhaena clings to the saddle as Vhagar and Vermithor tumble toward the water below them. Right before they hit the sea, the two dragons disengage and break apart. Rhaena turns Vhagar toward her enemy. Then, a shrieking Daeron smashes into Vhagar's side, sinking her fangs into Vhagar's neck. As Vhagar thrashes and tries to bite at her enemy, Vermithor's fangs sink into Vhagar's wing. The force of the impact throws Vhagar off balance, and the weight of the two dragons causes her to tumble uncontrollably toward Driftmark. Thinking quickly, Daeron has Daeron break away, then has Vermithor push Vhagar downward. He has Daeron attack from above. Rhaena only has a chance to scream as Daeron's azure flames engulf her, leaving nothing but ash behind. Vhagar screams in fury as her rider dies, but it's too little too late. Vermithor releases Vhagar's wing and lets her tumble gracelessly into High Tide. The already room.
Yeah, they probably would. Yeah, she probably would see it as a bigger insult than if they just killed her. Yeah, where they kind of just leave her crippled. Dornish. Oh, that'd be hilarious if she got a half Dornish, right? She'd be like, I have a half Dornish Visenya. How did this happen?
Wind structure breaking under the huge dragon's bulk. Daeron looks down at the mighty dragon as she roars in pain. One of her massive wings slightly crooked and battered, several wounds across her body. Perhaps one day someone would claim her, but now there was no time. Besides, she was dealt with for now. Satisfied, Daeron flies towards the capital. Daemon and Jace find reach devoid of troops when they fly over the castles. Highgarden, Hornhill, Oldtown, every castle has been abandoned. Only small folk remain. Daemon and Jace circle Hornhill, trying to find enemies when Daemon sees two shadows flying toward them. A pair of roars sound over the horizon as two dragons, one copper, the other gold, fly toward them. Daemon slowly sags in his saddle. This had been a trap. They lured him out, and now they likely would soon have the capital. Jaehaerys on Shrikos and Maelor on Sunfire fly to face Caraxes and Vermax.
You've lied for too long, Uncle.
On that much we agree. With that, the four dragons engage. Shrikos
Yeah,
attacks
slight
Caraxes while Sunfire
mistake. It was supposed to be you've lived for too long. To kind of reference the line.
flies around Vermax. Daemon feels his age as the dragon twists and spins around each other. His old bones couldn't take much more of this. He had to win this quickly. Hissing, Caraxes blasts Shrikos with fire, but the younger dragon evades, right as Sunfire seizes Vermax's neck and starts tearing into him before being kicked away.
That's
At
an
that
AI
moment, Daemon
image.
determines to
Ouch.
sell his life as dearly as he can.
I'm sad that they
Not
sometimes
caring,
use
Daemon
those.
urges Caraxes forward to smash into Shrikos, wrapping his long neck around the younger dragon and digging his claws into the copper dragon's chest. Now that he has his prey, Daemon lets gravity pull all four of them toward the ground. With a crash, the two dragons slam into the ground. Jaehaerys crushed underneath his dragon while Daemon is flung off Caraxes to slam into the ground. For a moment, Daemon looks up at the sky, breath coming in spurts. Then, death takes him. Jace sees the dragons fall and is about to continue the fight when two more dragons fly toward him. Daeron and Vermithor. Knowing he's outmatched, Jace flees out toward the open sea. As Jace runs, Daeron's eyes immediately go to the broken bodies of Shrikos and Caraxes. Hands shaking, Daeron flies down to where Jaehaerys had fallen, then has Daeron push the bodies over to reveal his nephew's mangled remains. Shaking, Daeron sinks to his knees and allows a stream of silent tears to float on his face. Seeing his nephew on the ground makes everything crash home to Daeron. This was all his fault. Killing Rhaena and Rhaenys hadn't given him any pleasure or satisfaction, but now seeing his sister's son mangled beyond recognition because Jaehaerys had chosen to follow him broke something inside Daeron.
I can't do this anymore. I need to end this. I can't risk them. Not again.
Maelor and Maedros drop to the ground, adding their grief to Daeron's. Slowly, Daeron pushes himself to his feet. Then he glares towards King's Landing. Sensing his uncle's will, Maelor climbs onto Sunfire and flies toward the Golden Tooth, where the Lannister and Reach armies were waiting. Before he leaves, Daeron walks over to Daemon's body and goes to retrieve Darksister. When he does, Daeron finds that Daemon did not have the weapon. After paying his respects to a worthy foe, Daeron has Tessarion burn the bodies with full honors. After Maelor and Maedros inform the Lannister and Reach forces, Daeron's great host rides out to the Golden Tooth and
I think that she would probably stop growing to a certain extent once she gets super cartoonishly big. So she wasn't as big as Balerion, and the reason why Balerion wasn't as effective is because he was more of he was infected with fireworms. That was kind of the idea. Told to fight. I've seen Stringy has already limited resources. I think that she'd still be old enough. I think that she would still be fine to fight. I don't think that she would necessarily be. I think that she could still fight because this is only about 50 years in the future. I think that she would probably. Yeah, they aren't immortal, but I think that it could be that maybe he didn't claim Vagar because I think it actually would be interesting if he claimed Melees, if Dana the Defiant was Melees' rider, or maybe he had Caraxes. It's also possible. It's one possibility that I like. Because I know there's a post that I like of Daeron the Young Dragon having Vagar, because he kind of has that Daeron kind of has that big dick energy about him. Only 50? So let's kind of take a look. So let's look at the Dance of Dragons. Okay, come on. All right, so the Dance of Dragons goes until 131. Let's take a look at the Blackfire Rebellions. Okay, so the Blackfire Rebellion. Let's take a look at the Sunfire. Okay. Yeah. Oh, he did. Okay. I think that kind of fits because they're both rebels. Yeah, so if we take a look at Daemon Blackfire, he dies 98. So it's only about 60 years. So we're thinking only 60 years. Which one he gave to Daenerys? I don't know if he did. Maybe he didn't. But yeah, it's only the Blackfire Rebellions is actually not that long after, like, the Dance of the Dragons ends about 60 years. At least the first Blackfire Rebellion, it ends only about 65 years. So that's not. I don't think that's long enough for Vagar to necessarily get too old to fight. I would say that she's definitely too old by the time of Robert's Rebellion. I would definitely say that she would probably be too old by then. But that's kind of my thought.
Marches on the capital, supported by the king in exile and the two princes. As soon as the dragons fly overhead, ships start disgorging hundreds of Sapphire Brotherhood troops onto the shore. After Larys' agents open the doors, troops bearing Daeron.
Yeah, I feel like that. I love that image. And he gave, I think, a Moon Dancer to Shiara Seastar, which actually feels fairly appropriate. I feel like that's fairly accurate. Oh, I think I found it. Oh, she gave her dream fire. I think that's fun. Yeah, that's actually interesting that Sunfire and Dreamfire are the okay, yeah, there's yeah, so I think that that's actually I actually like that as Daemon Blackfire and Daenerys. Whereas where Dreamfire and Sunfire are mated couples. Vermithor, who survived Trimbleton, walking to the red grass. Huh. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. I like that. That's dope. Okay. I like that. That's cool. But yeah.
Blue dragon on black flood into the city through the mud gates and the king's gates. Within a few hours, the city is taken. Knowing that flight is useless, Rhaenyra sits on the Iron Throne and waits for her half-brother to arrive. Sounds of fighting echo through the Red Keep, getting closer and closer. Finally, Daeron enters, Blackfire in hand, Darkblade stained red, flanked by Wayne Hightower, Jason Lannister, and his troops.
Welcome, little brother. I had hoped you would content yourself in Essos.
I cannot stay here and let my people suffer under your rule.
Don't try claiming you're on the side of righteousness here. You stole the treasury, causing all of this disorder. I had to deal with it while you played soldier in Essos.
You left us with no choice. You murdered my brothers and my mother, and because of you, my grandfather died in exile.
Should I feel sorry for you? You've had it so easy living out there. I will take a bit of joy knowing that you will have to deal with all of my headaches after you kill me.
No, Rhaenyra, I'm not going to kill you. You're going to die a natural death. By then, you will have served your purpose.
What purpose?
Dragons. If you are in the proximity of eggs when they hatch, the odds of them hatching increase significantly. It's not perfect, but it's enough to get by for now. Take her away.
Rhaenyra starts crying as his men climb up the steps and escort her off the throne to a comfortable cell. Sighing, Daeron rubs his eyes, then turns to Maedhros and Maelor.
Oh yeah. That's kind of one of the things I want to do is that characters are kind of to a certain extent correct because she was kind of on easy mode and I kind of called it off. And I wanted to kind of have that be in there that she's like, yeah, he's kind of been just kind of doing stuff while she's been actually ruling.
To remain in King's Landing while Daeron and Maedhros fly to the Riverlands. Rhaenyra's remaining sons were there. Tywin is installed as hand of the king officially, as well as entrusted to the defense of King's Landing to Jason. Both brothers quickly take charge of the city, Maelor and Sunfire standing watch in case of an attack by Jace or his brothers. Aegon and Viserion fly over the burned remains of Raventree Hall, as well as several other keeps. Finally, two roars sound over their heads as two dragons dive toward them. Jaehaera and Alysara close in. Morgul and Silverwing start to circle them. Aegon initially prepares to attack, then hears the sound of two more dragons coming toward them. Viserys exchanges looks with Aegon, clearly waiting for his older brother to lead the way. Swallowing, Aegon starts descending toward the ground, followed by Viserys. Daeron and the other dragons land on the walls and towers of Harrenhal, then dismount. Daeron holds up Daemon's dragonhead brooch, tosses it toward Aegon. The younger man picks up the object and looks at Daeron, eyes filled with pain.
It's over, nephew. I have the capital, I have the money, I have the dragons, I have the armies. Your mother has not been harmed, and you and your brother will not be badly treated. The bastard Jacaerys has fled, but if he wishes to come back, he will not be punished. How do I know what you've said is true? Because I am not Maegor the Cruel. Whatever you have been told, I do not need to kill you. That serves no one. If you need assurances, I'm willing to marry my daughter and niece to you in order to ensure your place is secured. I want to come home. I want my children to meet their grandparents and cousins. I want this whole thing to end.
Viserys and Aegon exchange startled looks. Then Aegon squares his shoulders. He agrees so long as they can see that their mother is safe. Daeron agrees, and the six dragons fly to King's Landing. After Rhaenyra has been shown to her sons, Aegon and Viserys agree to Daeron's terms. Relieved that this war is over, Daeron and Jaehaera and Alysara get to know the young men. Now that the Seven Kingdoms are under Daeron's control, the king sends for Tishara and Helena to return. Jason and Joanna are excited to see their daughter again, as well as officially meet their grandchildren. The Lord of Casterly Rock is beyond happy that his line will have dragons and sit on the Iron Throne. Once things have settled, Daeron has a long talk with Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra explains all of the hardships of the last decade and a half, as well as how she felt with Alicent and Otto bearing down on her, and Daeron talks about everything Otto had shared with him. With Daeron willing to engage Jaehaera and Alysara to Aegon and Viserys, Rhaenyra is willing to end the blood feud. With that, the Blue Fire War comes to an end, and Daeron, the Daring, and his queen, Tishara, assume the throne. When Jacaerys hears about Daeron's ascension, he flies north to Winterfell, collects the clutch of eggs that Farmax had left, and flees across the western sea toward Ashai. He would never forget, and he would never forgive. One day, Dark Sister would be raised in rebellion against Daeron Bluefire.
Yeah, so with this, it's very much just going to be a toxic cycle of they're always going to be in rebellion against each other. And that's just going to how it's going to be, just how the next few years are going to work. And so that was kind of, I feel like that was relatively weak. I definitely could have done a lot better on that one. I did not. The ending especially is very sloppy. I'm not proud of the ending for that. I could have done a lot better. But Say the V, live and learn. And I feel like with the next one I did learn. Let me pull up the next one. Because one of the things about if the greens get a significant thing, Daeron becoming king. King on the younger, as Daeron marries him to Jaehaera, but refuses to marry, citing how this whole mess. Yeah, that's actually pretty accurate, yeah. Oh, okay. I hadn't heard about that. That's cool. So talking about this one, I feel like I did a lot better on this one, mainly because I had them actually chase him, and because one of the problems of the original is that this one, but yeah, the second one is better. Yeah, there's some elements of it that I like. I like the first half, but the ending kind of craps the bed a little bit, and I feel a little bit embarrassed at how it ended. And I'm like, yeah, I should have had more casualties. Problem was, it's just the dragon size differentials. That's part of the problem, is that the greens managed to get hold of the big dragons, and that makes it harder. And they assassinate a few more people. I should have considered that a little bit better. That was not exactly well thought out on my part, and I should have probably considered a few different things. But live and learn, I feel like this one was a fairly big improvement, and I feel like it went a little bit better because I was able to do a lot more more tense stuff and actually leveraging the dragon sizes for their different advantages.
The night is dark.
The video was escalating Rap's office inside Harrenhal.
So, by the way, Boba really hated this episode for reasons I'll get into later. But we will see. We'll show it later.
Daemon looks down at the report of Lucerys' death, his hand on his chin. The situation was escalating rapidly. He had hoped to win this war through diplomacy without it coming to dragon-on-dragon combat, but evidently that was not an option. A war setting dragon against dragon would destroy more than just armies. But first, there was one major threat: Aemond Targaryen. If he could kill Aemond, there was nobody on the green side that would be able to claim Vhagar. He just had to eliminate the boy. Picking up his pen, Daemon starts writing a letter to Mysaria.
Okay.
In the letter, he emphasizes how...
Oh, okay. Ahab, he's finally killed his black whale. His war is over. Okay, that's actually a good point where... yeah. Well, I did give you some behind-the-scenes stuff, so I'll get into it later, but he did not like the relationship between Daeron and Calypso. He felt like it was a groomy relationship, and we'll kind of get into it later. I was just like, I guess I was kind of just feeling like age is just a number, and he's just kind of a kid going around in the storm. And I'm just like, just exploring something I think is relatively interesting. But yeah, and he kind of asked the question, if it was reversed, how would you feel? And it's like, ooh, that's a good point. There would kind of be a bit of grooming going on there, but yeah.
How imperative it was to ensure Aemond dies, make certain they shadowed him and figured out his patterns, and make sure that they got it right the first time. They would only have one shot at this. Once Mysaria receives the correspondence, she reaches out to her Ratcatcher agents and instructs them to shadow Aemond's movements.
Yeah.
After a few days of careful observation, they finally find that he will sometimes walk through the halls with a pair of guards to find a book to read. Once they're ready, the assassins make their move, pulling out weapons from inside their servants' liveries. Aemon and his guards draw swords and counterattack. One of the assassins falls with Aemon's blade in his chest right before another pair attacks the prince. Grunting, Aemon deflects their attacks as another pair of assassins engages his guards. Blade spinning, Aemon attempts to keep ahead, but his assailants close in. Finally, he kills one. Then the first of his guards falls to the ground. Then the other, alone against three opponents. Aemon desperately attacks, but a couple of them remain in his blind spot and attack. A knife drives into his side right before he bashes the assassin in the face. Then he slashes the second across the chest before the last one drives his sword into Aemon's back. With the last...
Yeah, Dany Drogo is far worse because he's like mid-30s as opposed to 16, mid-30s minimum. Well, early to mid-40s, and she's 13. And Daeron is at least 16, 17-ish. And kind of my thought was Calypso is like late 20, mid to late 20s. So,
Aemon drives his sword into the assassin's stomach, causing him to fall. As the assassin he'd bashed in the face clutches his broken nose, Aemond stumbles into him, pushing his sword into the man's chest as his vision goes blurry. Gagging, the assassin sprays blood into Aemond's face as both of them drop to the ground.
His problem was kind of the morality of the situation was we're supposed to like these people, and my thought is just, okay, well, yeah. Sometimes people we don't like do things sometimes people we like do things that are not good. So I don't necessarily need to kind of conform. I just need to kind of have them just be people.
Aemond's last thought is of Vhagar.
That was my thought.
Vhagar feels Visenya's pain and rises, growling. She bonded with Visenya many times. There was the first Visenya, the best one. Then there was the short-haired, large Visenya. Then there had been the graceful, gentle Visenya, who died when giving birth. And then there was the one-eyed Visenya. Snarling, Vhagar breaks loose from her chains and charges toward the doors. When she bursts out of the dragon pit and flies toward Redstone Den, she feels Visenya die. With a roar, Vhagar turns and flies toward her home. Otto's agents discover Aemond's body and those of the other assailants minutes after the boy falls. When he sees his grandson's corpse, he breaks out in a cold sweat. Alicent cries as she holds her son's body, but Otto can only think about the fact
so this is kind of the first time where I kind of do the Granny Vhagar meme, because I really find the Granny Vhagar meme to be really funny. Where he's like where there'll be little things like, the Daeron of dragons? Jeez! Pet cat Fluffy. Fluffy number X. Yeah, where she is kind of like, they're all Visenya. I'm not going to bother learning their names. And just thought, let's just have a little bit of fun there. That was kind of my thought process. And then Otto is really just thinking about the dragon, and then he just
to find someone to play Vhagar. Perhaps they could
up.
find some random dragon seed. Now, that was a terrible thought, but it was likely their only. His thoughts are cut off as a roar from outside the Red Keep blasts out across the night.
Oh, fucking damn it.
Knowing already what was happening, Otto and Alicent run toward a window as Vhagar's bulk passes by the window. Both father and daughter stare at the giant dragon as she falls out over the Blackwater.
We need to rethink our strategy. Without Vhagar, we're at a disadvantage.
We should flee back to the rock. Even Visenya said she was thankful that Lauren Lannister came out to meet them rather than hiding within the castle.
We may not get that far, but we will try.
When Aegon is told about the death of his brother, the king is enraged. Vowing to take revenge on Rhaenyra and her brood of bastards, Aegon demands that they attack now. Otto attempts to convince the king to flee, but Aegon refuses.
I will not cower and hide. Now is the time to strike, before someone claims Vhagar. Your Grace, we should not risk such an action when you and the Queen are the only dragon riders we have that can fight. Then me and Helena shall attack in tandem, kill Maelys while Caraxes is gone at Harrenhal and Syrax is incapacitated, and then we kill them all. Brilliant, Your Grace. I strongly advise you not take this drastic action. It will be a dangerous gamble. We have only gambles left. Vhagar is lost to us. No one in the city can claim her. I mean to fly out and meet my sister, and you won't stop me. Sir Criston, you have a way with words. Come and help me convince Helena to come with me.
Otto groans and rubs his eyes. Initially, Helena is worried, but after Aegon illustrates the desperation of the situation, Sir Criston talks about ensuring the safety of the children and the fact that they needed to avenge Aemon. In the end, it's Sir Criston that convinces Helena. Vhagar lands on her old home on Dragonstone, roaring toward the Blackstone Den, wondering if she could find...
Yeah, but this is very much Aegon's kind of reckless, and I was like, my thought was, they do have a narrow window, is my thought process, because because Vhagar shifts the entire balance of power in military terms. As soon as Vhagar is claimed by somebody, the war is lost. And so they are ultimately just in a very... Part of the thing that I'm having to work with in these theories is that there is a... everybody kind of has to play around Vhagar. And as soon as Vhagar is claimed by somebody, you're going to have the balance of power abruptly shifts. Just having Vhagar on the green side was enough to shift the power. And having Vhagar on the black side with the other dragons they have just means that it's game over. Because they just can't handle it. Especially early on when they still have Maelys. So... yeah, that's part of the thing that I have to go around.
Visenya. What kind of Visenya would it be this time?
So, and one of the things that I did say was, the thing is like, yeah, she would probably run off to Driftmark, or in this case, Dragonstone, because this is her kind of home. And since Vermithor and Silverwing both went to Dragonstone and are still on Dragonstone during the dance after Alicent and Jaehaerys die, and they haven't left.
A fighter, or a mere graceful one. Yawning, Vhagar rests her head on the ground and waits. She feels so old. Was this how Balerion had felt before his death? She missed him, and Meraxes. Vhagar growls at the memory. She wanted to eat the soft skins that had killed her. Maybe her new Visenya would let her go into the sandy land and let her burn them. That would be good. As soon as they see her, the Black Council immediately discusses how to make use of this development, since Baela already...
Yeah, there was a bit actually in the Otto Hightower being burned on Dragonstone bit, where I put in a bit where Vhagar is saying, thinks they weren't the Dornish, but at least she could burn them. And Boba ended up cutting out with a WTF comment on there, which I was like, I guess.
He has a dragon. Rhaena is chosen to claim the great dragon. Vhagar's eyes lazily open as a soft skin approaches, one that looked much like the graceful Visenya who'd claimed her before, her one-eyed rider. Curious, Vhagar shifts her head to the side, not bothering to raise her jaw off the ground. A cautious look on her face. Rhaena scratches at Vhagar's jaw. Yawning, Vhagar allows her new Visenya to scratch her. The one-eyed Visenya hadn't scratched her like that. Satisfied that the old she-dragon had accepted her, Rhaena climbs onto Vhagar's back and takes her into the sky. Together, Aegon and Helena fly toward Dragonstone and Sunfire and Dreamfire. When the dragons get close, Rhaenys ascends into the air atop a red dragon. Sunfire shrieks as he flies toward the Red Queen, fire blasting from his jaws. Rhaenys dodges under the torrent of fire, then smashes up into him, talons raking his belly. Dreamfire moves into attack, but then they hear it. Vhagar roars and flies toward them.
Oh shit.
Helena attempts to run, but Vhagar smashes into the blue dragon. And
honestly, kind of one of the things about this House of the Dragon that I actually really like is that I actually feel like I'm very good at writing aerial combat, where it's very visceral and evocative. I feel like I do a fairly good job of writing draconic combat in my theories, where I'm having to utilize tactics and all sorts of other neat things. Soft is, well, like you say, there's a character,
rips off a wing. Screaming, Dreamfire plummets toward the bay, Helena clinging to the saddle. Aegon attempts to get Sunfire to fight free of Melee's grip, but then Vhagar blasts him with fire. Now it's Sunfire's turn to fall toward the ground, trailing smoke and blood. With the yell of fear, the king and his dragon crash into the Blackwater and send up a gout of water into the sky.
Excellent work, Rhaena. You handled yourself well.
Moves into attack, but then Visenya would let her go, or a mere graceful one. Sir Criston that convinces no one in the city can we may not be or a mere graceful one. Yawning, Vhagar rests her head on the ground and waits. Vhagar growls so old. Was this how Balerion had felt before his death? She missed him, and Meraxus. Vhagar growls at the memory, crashing in the Blackwater and out of water.
Landing with all speed.
Rhaena
I didn't really put it as soft. I just say
Rhaenys turn.
She was wondering just if Balerion had felt like that when she felt so old.
Sir Dragon homeward. Otto and Alicent
so maybe,
as gouts of flame rise in the distance, coupled with triumphant roars. They need to run. Aegon and Helena had thrown themselves into the fray, and their gamble had failed. Shaking, Alicent drops to her knees and starts crying. Otto awkwardly pats his daughter's shoulder as she weeps. Less than 2 days after Otto, Alicent and the children flee. Rhaenyra and the rest of her dragons arrive, bringing the Black Army in with the help of the Gold Cloaks loyal to Daemon. Once Rhaenyra sits the Iron Throne, she begins her preparations. The treasury was within their control, and now that Daeron was the only child of Alicent remaining, they had to seize him along with his niece and nephews. Rhaenys and Daemon fly toward Old Town, while Jace and Rhaena go to Casterly Rock. As they pass over the Golden Tooth, Rhaena and Jace intercept Otto and Alicent. Vhagar growls and shifts from claw to claw as Alicent puts herself between the dragon and her grandchildren. Jace hovers around them on Vermax, not wanting to get too close.
Sir Otto, Queen Alicent, you're both under arrest for treason. You and everyone else will be returned to King's Landing under guard. You can come willingly or as a pile of ash. Your choice.
Alicent quickly surrenders as Otto resigns himself to his impending death. Vermax grabs the children and drops them onto Rhaena's lap before seizing Alicent and Otto in his talons. The small dragons, more than Frigos, fly after the larger dragons.
Resigning themselves to the impending death. It's actually a Studio C reference with the the Mr. Ecclestone skit series, where he says right before they start driving, "Resign yourself to your impending death." Again, can you call yourself someone old? Well, he's dead, so yeah.
King's Landing. When Ormond Hightower receives the letter from King's Landing, he assumes it's the news of victory and the crowning of Aegon. Then he sees that the dragon is in red ink. Taking a long breath, Ormond opens the letter and reads through it. His expression grows progressively more defeated as his eyes flick over the words.
Lord Ormond, your uncle Otto's darkling scheme to usurp my throne has been revealed and undone. The false king is dead, as are Aemond and Helena. Vhagar is under our control, and we shall have...
As a sign of your loyalty, I command you to turn over Daeron to my husband Daemon and my mother-by-law, Rhaenys, when they arrive to collect him. It would be wise to comply. If you do not, then my dragons will finish Maegor's work and reduce Old Town to ash. Shaking with emotion, Ormond massages his forehead and then puts his hand over his mouth. Could he do this? Could he turn the lad over? Ormond liked Daeron, and he was a good boy, but what was one boy against the lives of all of Old Town and the future of his house? Finally, he stands up and tells his guards to grab Wayne Hightower.
Don't struggle, cousin. We just want you to comply. With what? What's going on, Ormond? I'm sorry, Wayne, but this is for the good of Old Town and our house. What is going on? Tell me. The plan has failed. Rhaenyra has won, and all the others are dead. We need to turn him over. No, you can't. You'll die. Please, Ormond, don't do this. I will not risk my people, my city, and my house for the life of one boy. His name is Daeron.
Gritting his teeth, Ormond turns away as Gawain keeps struggling against the guards. Undeterred, Gawain keeps on yelling at Ormond.
His name is Daeron. Remember his name. When Rhaenyra puts his head on the walls of King's Landing. Let me go, you bastards. His blood will be on your hands, Ormond. You'll burn in 7 hells if you let her lay a hand on him. Put him in the cells. I don't want him interfering.
Daeron looks up.
Yeah, so with this, with Ormond Hightower, I wanted to just put it as he's having to be, yes, it actually was a Hobbit reference. My thought was that he's having to make a really, really hard choice. And I will not wish this quest for the life of one burglar. Yeah. And kind of the two different perspectives where Ormond is having to be very clinical and to say, I'm sorry, but I can't risk my city for this kid. Much as I may like him, I have to make the pragmatic choice. Which is kind of different than who he is in the show. I feel like I did a better job in this than some of the choices that they make in House of the Dragon, where he's kind of just an abusive asshole, and he's just kind of an asshole in general. And I just find that characterization really frustrating because they start out fine and they subvert it by making him terrible. And I was like, I hate that. But what I did was I just like, he's not emotional, super emotional. He's torn up a little bit. He's torn up and he just acts with some pretty good competence and says, I'm sorry, but I have no moves left. The enemy is won. I can't do this. And then we also have the contrast with Gawain, who's more like his uncle, who is his uncle and loves him very deeply and almost like he's his second dad. And there's that contrast. And we also see that Gawain he's Daeron's ride or die, and we're going to see that throughout the rest of the theory too. I like everything. Yeah, I like some things. I don't like that he kind of freaks out and yells when he hears that Aemond isn't coming. I think it would have been better if he just was super cold about it. I think that would have been much more terrifying. That's one of the problems I have with certain writing tendencies that people have when writing bills, is they make them explode emotionally when it would be better if they just remained really cold. And I think that that's a lot scarier than just kind of somebody acting with an emotional outburst and then going to more cheery. I'm like, I really dislike that trope. I find it very annoying.
The smile as Ormond enters his rooms, then frowns as a group of guards follow behind the Lord of Old Town. Confused, Daeron stands up and glances around.
Cousin Ormond, what's going on? Is everything all right? I'm very sorry, lad, but your brothers and your sister are dead. What? No, it can't be. Rhaenyra is now in control, and she's asked us to turn you over to Daemon and Rhaenys when they arrive. You have to understand, this is for everyone's benefit. No, I'm not going, lad. We have to turn you over. I cannot allow my city to burn.
Daeron glances back and forth, looking for an escape, but he's on one of the higher floors of the high tower, far above the ground. If he jumped out the window, he'd die. Ormond motions to his men, and Daeron takes action. Without warning, he throws a plate at the arrest party and runs to the balcony. One of the guards tries to grab him, but Daeron draws his sword and slashes his would-be captor's hand off. Blood sprays Daeron's jacket as the man screams and clutches at his stump. Daeron kicks the man into his fellows, then makes a dash toward the balcony. Thinking quickly, Daeron pushes the door to the balcony closed and then jams it shut with his sword. The young prince looks around and swallows, trying to figure out how to escape.
Yeah, with this, I wanted to very much have him he is an underdog. He is going to be a fugitive, going to be running. Yeah, one is more the dare. Yeah, and I even threw in a little Gandalf reference in there if you catch it. And then this was actually the thumbnail I used because I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good line. Pretty good piece of artwork to use.
He was trapped. His pursuers were banging on the door, rattling the sword, keeping it closed. Daeron jumps onto the railing and looks down. Perhaps he could get lucky. Maybe the water wouldn't kill him if he jumped. As he contemplates the fall before him, the door bursts open. Shaking, Daeron puts up his hand.
Stay back. Daeron, be reasonable. Come down from there. No, if I'm going to die, it'll be on my own terms. You aren't going to die, lad. No, I'm not. Not by her hand.
Before Ormond can run forward and grab him, Daeron turns and leaps out into the open air. Shocked, Ormond stares at where the boy had been. Then he runs to the balcony to look down at the boy. Daeron spreads his arms as he falls toward the water. Then he hears it. A loud shriek fills the air, along with a flash of blue descending toward him. Daeron's dragon, Tessarion, drops faster and faster until she's flying at a perpendicular angle, inches away from him, fear shooting through him. Daeron reaches out and grabs the handles. As soon as her rider pulls him into his saddle, Tessarion spreads her wings and shoots out and upward. Ormond stumbles backward as Tessarion shoots upward and nearly snaps at his head. Ormond instinctively draws...
So that one's actually a subtle reference to Chronicles of Narnia, actually, where specifically Prince Caspian, where Aemond jumps off of a fortification and then flies up. So with Vigilance, I actually like this design for Vigilance a lot more than the show's design. Maybe it's just because I think I don't really like white on I don't like the handle. I honestly dislike the handle for Blackfire in the show. I much prefer the artwork that's used in, say, the World of Ice and Fire. But yeah, that's kind of nitpicky, I guess. But I just thought, okay, I want to use Vigilance. I think that would be fun to use Vigilance and make that Daeron's sword.
But he knows it's fruitless in the face of the Blue Queen. The look of pain and betrayal in Daeron's eyes fill Ormond with guilt. For a long moment, Daeron and Ormond lock eyes. Then Tessarion's tail darts out and strikes Ormond's hand, flinging Vigilance out of his grip. The sword skitters to a stop at the edge of the balcony. Daeron's attempted captures freeze as the ancient sword balances on the precipice, then falls. Silently, Daeron drops toward the ground, and hand outstretched as he speeds toward the falling sword of his ancestors. Vigilance spins end over end, the rippling steel flashing in the sun. At just the right moment, Daeron stretches out his hand and seizes Vigilance by the hilt, right before they hit the ground.
Yep, that's the Gandalf reference. I actually listened to the music in the scene where Gandalf is falling with the Balrog to kind of get the feeling right when I was writing it.
Tessarion spreads her wings and glides out over the bay, shrieking triumphantly as Daeron raises his sword above his head. People yell and cheer, totally unaware of what had gone on inside the high tower. Daeron quickly ties the sword to his saddle, then takes off toward the south. Maybe he could hide in the mountains of Dorne. Perhaps they could hide him. Not wanting to cloud his vision, Daeron dashes the tears from his eyes with his sleeve, then firms his grip on the saddle horns. As he approaches the boneway, Daeron sees two flashes of scarlet scales in the distance. He knew what those had to be. Daemon and Rhaenys had come with her red dragons, swallowing hard. Daeron urges Tessarion toward the boneway, hoping to find a place to hide him. The sound of twin roars right behind the red dragons wheel in the air, aiming straight at him, announces to Daeron that hiding would not be possible.
All right, girl. Let's show them how fast you are.
Shrieking, Tessarion shoots toward the east. Maybe he could lose them in the stepstones. He just had to get there faster. Daemon and Rhaenys see the blue scales right before the sapphire dragon takes off toward the stepstones. Not wanting to lose their quarry, the two...
So with this, I very much wanted to have the tension of you have two dragons that are pretty large, and I like the fact that there are two red dragons against a blue one. They're kind of since red and blue are kind of considered opposites, and it just happens to work out well in this case. And with this, it's basically trying to leverage the fact that Tessarion is smaller and faster than her two opponents. And that's the only advantage she has, because as she gets into fighting distance, or if Caraxes or Melees close in on her, she is dead. So that's one of the main bits of tension. And a lot of people are saying Melees is the fastest dragon in this world. That was a long time ago. She's kind of past her. My thought was she's kind of lazy at this point and past her prime. And my thought was the bigger the dragon gets, the slower they get, versus the smaller the dragon is, the faster they are. So maybe it's kind of an aerodynamic deal, but my thought was Tessarion's probably going to be would be a racing dragon. So that was kind of my thought process of why she would be able to outrun Melees and Caraxes, especially with the head start.
Caraxes and Melees toward Tessarion. Across the landscape, the dragon's speed, Tessarion rapidly gaining ground due to her smaller frame. The pursuers urge more speed, but soon Tessarion vanishes.
Damn, boy's fast.
We need to catch him, and at this point, we will have to kill him.
I know. Seems a shame. The boy has courage and determination. He couldn't have escaped the high tower without being daring.
Daring or not, he's a threat, and we need to neutralize him.
He's headed in the direction of the
subtle
stepstones. He'll likely find some place to hide and wait for us to pass by. Caraxes is slower than Melees, so you should fly to the other side, and then we can catch him in a pincer.
Rhaenys nods in agreement and urges her dragon forward as Daemon has Caraxes fly toward the stepstones. For hours, the two crisscross the islands, but there's no sign of the prince. From his cover within a hidden cave on Bloodstone, Daeron watches Melees and Caraxes fly over them in a cleft in the rocks. More to calm himself than anything else, Daeron strokes Tessarion's head, causing the dragon to croon appreciatively. After he sees that they've adopted a pattern that gives them a line of sight on the island, he knows that he's only got a bit of time before he's discovered. There was only one way out of the cave, and if they discovered him, they could easily kill him. Shaking with terror, Daeron wraps his arms around Tessarion to feel some level of comfort. Gently, Tessarion nuzzles him and purrs deeply in her throat.
I'm so scared, girl. I thought I was going to die back there, but you saved me. Now I'm terrified they're going to kill me and you. We're not going to be able to hide much longer. They're going to find the cave sooner rather than later. And once they do, we're dead.
A sudden thunderclap draws his attention toward a storm gathering toward the south of them. Initially, Daeron is irritated that it's going to get cold.
I'd say that like she's gotten a lot faster. Like she's fierce when roused, but I don't think that she would be as fast as she was when she was faster. Doesn't mean more maneuverable. That's a very good point. And kind of with this, it's just we're just illustrating kind of the gravity of the situation, because Daeron's the underdog in this situation, and I felt like it was more interesting to explore his story as opposed to Rhaenyra's, because it's like, if she's just kind of the totalitarian dictator, there's nothing really interesting to do there, because functionally, unlike Stannis or Robb, there is, if the Blacks take power, depending on when, they have complete totalitarian power over the entirety of the North, over the entirety of the Seven Kingdoms. The reason being, if they have dragons, the number of dragons they have makes it so that they cannot fight. Yeah, she's functionally untouchable. Like especially because she's going to have the armies of the North, the Vale, and the Riverlands under her control, along with Meleys, Vhagar, and Caraxes. Those three dragons on their own can basically decimate most of the area, because there is no way to fight them. And that's just not interesting to me. And so my thought was, we can have a measure of tension here by having Daeron be a run. They only become good kings after losing their dragons. Yeah, that's a good point.
Then he sees a way out. It was crazy, daring, and it was his only hope.
Ready to do something really stupid, girl?
Tiserian shakes herself and growls eagerly. Daeron takes a long breath, then climbs onto his dragon's back and waits for the storm to reach them. As soon as it does...
One other thing I wanted to do here was I wanted to give Tiserian some personality, where she's his only friend and his only companion, and kind of illustrate the bond that these two have, and as they're on the run from Meleys and Caraxes.
The other dragons are at the furthest point of their patrol. Daeron takes off. When Rhaenys sees the flash of blue scales heading toward the storm, Meleys lets out a roar and chases after the smaller dragon. Daemon hears the roar and turns Caraxes toward the pursuit. As soon as he sees the direction Daeron is headed, Daemon starts swearing.
What is that idiot boy doing? He's going to get himself killed.
Shrieking, Caraxes flaps toward the smaller dragon. As soon as Tiserian gets closer into the gale, she finds herself fighting against the winds as they buffet her. Daeron clings on as range drives into his eyes. As he does, he sees Caraxes gaining on him. As the blue worm draws near, he hears a voice above the rain.
Surrender, Daeron. If you come back willingly, you won't be badly treated. You will stay in the Red Keep as an honored guest. Give yourself up.
Daeron stares over his shoulder at his uncle, breath coming in spurts.
Yeah,
then he affirms his resolve and yells at his pursuer.
I'd rather die free than live in a cage.
Without another word, Daeron leaps forward and...
Yeah, so there's actually a line that... There's kind of a couple of lines. Live free, die well, which is in Scorpion King. But I also there's a movie, a very short film, Marco Polo, the Anime Hero Classics version, not the Game of Thrones light Marco Polo TV series with Benedict Wong, where there's I'd rather die with honor than live in shame. And so I was like, all right, I kind of want to give that sentiment to Daeron, where he's like, no, I'm going to leave. I'm going to die free rather than live in a cage. And illustrating the whole point of Daeron is that he wants to make his own fate. And we kind of see that a bit in the High Tower. We kind of see it reiterated throughout the whole story.
The saddle. Shrieking, Tiserian fearlessly shoots upward into the storm clouds. Daeron watches the young man fly into the storm and feels a new respect for him.
Oh, if I had a son like that.
Leaning forward in the saddle, Daemon flies after Daeron, but the boy...
So continuing the Mongol era references, that's actually a historical bit where in the when Genghis Khan was taking the Persian dynasty and in kind of its wars with the Persians, he saw a prince who knew when everything was lost, the prince decided to make a daring escape by leaping over a giant chasm. And the Khan was said to say, every man should have a son like that. But I decided to use the version that I first heard that quote of, which is, "Oh, if I had a son like that," which was what I heard from Lenwood Thompson when he was describing that particular historical event. So that was kind of my thought process with that particular scene, where instead of flying, jumping over a cliff with a horse, or jumping across a river with a horse, it's a dragon into a storm. So I just thought I'd kind of throw that in there.
Vanishes into the storm as the winds shift. Screaming in frustration, Caraxes tries to pursue, but his large size makes him slower than the smaller dragon riding the wind below him. For hours, Daemon chases after the boy as he winds his way through the clouds. Finally, Caraxes breaks the cloud cover and sees Tessarion frantically flying toward the south.
Now I have you.
Now, with their quarry in front of them, Caraxes redoubles his speed, wings flapping rapidly. Daeron sees Caraxes closing in on him and grimaces, trying to think of a way out. Tessarion glances back at him questioningly as she frantically flees. Finally, Daeron leans forward and makes his last gamble. Tessarion drops into the cloud cover. When the Blue Queen abruptly dives, Caraxes dives along with her, back into the Tempest. Daemon shades his eyes, trying to see his quarry, but the rain beats on his eyes, preventing him from seeing clearly. Caraxes screams in frustration, searching desperately for his prey. There was no sign of Daeron. Frantically, Daeron and Tessarion navigate the storm, trying to keep it within the cloud cover to keep from being seen. Finally, once they're far enough away, they dive out into the night, the storm and darkness cloaking their escape. The winds buffet them and accelerate them by turns. Daeron clings to Tessarion's back as the Blue Dragon does her best to keep aloft. After what feels like an eternity, the wind shifts, driving them south. Not wanting to lose momentum, Daeron and Tessarion let the wind propel them further and further away from Westeros. When Rhaenys catches up to Daeron, she's shocked when the grizzled man has a vexed expression on his face.
He got away?
Yes, he did. Boy's clever as well as brave.
Damn it. This storm is miles wide and the wind is strong. He could be anywhere. I can't make anything out in this deluge.
We'll have to keep searching. Maybe we'll find him.
The storm pushes Daeron and Tessarion south at an accelerated pace until it finally drives them toward an island. Breathing hard, Daeron slips in and out of consciousness as his exhaustion starts taking over. Tessarion descends toward the beach below, then lands heavily on the sand. Rain beating on him, Daeron pulls vigilance from the saddle before slipping off Tessarion's back into the waves. The tide washes over him as he laboriously walks up the beach. Sometimes it almost pulls him out to sea, but Daeron drives vigilance into the sand and uses it as a cane to keep himself from being washed away. Finally, his energy gives out and he drops onto his stomach on a raised part of the beach. When Daemon and Rhaenys send...
Yeah, with this, I fully admit that it is a long way to the Basilisk Isles, and I kind of was like fudging it a little bit by having the storm propel him, because it's actually really far. Just having the dragon fly that distance. I did want to kind of illustrate just how tired this poor kid is by the fact that he just gets off and he's just trying his best to keep up. So that was kind of my thought process there.
Word to King's Landing regarding Daeron's escape. Rhaenyra is concerned about the failure. With the boy out in the wind, he could gather forces to oppose them. Not wanting any possibility of him rising up against her, Rhaenyra sets a bounty on any information about Daeron's location. If they couldn't bring him in, the throne would be at risk. When Daeron wakes up, his face and clothes are crusted with sand and dried salt water. His whole body is drenched as well. The storm has cleared, leaving nothing but open sky for miles. Grunting, Daeron tries to get up, but he's so stiff he can barely move. His eyes flick around, trying to find Tessarion, but the blue dragon was nowhere to be seen. Taking a long breath, Daeron closes his eyes to get back to sleep. Then he hears a woman's voice.
Morning, sleepyhead. You've been resting a while. We could have sworn you were dead when we found you washed up on the shore.
Daeron gathers his strength and pushes himself up. In his blind spots, there had been a motley group of corsairs with a summer islander woman leading them. She was dark-skinned like their leader, but others were Lyseni, Tyroshi, even a couple who looked like they were from Slaver's Bay or Dothraki. They all appeared to be corsairs based on their random assortment of silks, despite knowing he wasn't in good...
Yeah, so that little bit is a reference to Epic the Musical, specifically the Love in Paradise song, which is actually the first song I ever heard from Epic the Musical, funnily enough. And then I just started going through, I found a Legendary. I did others, but my favorites, as I've stated before, are Thunderbringer and Ruthlessness. Those are the ones that I go back to frequently, though I still will listen to Love in Paradise frequently, since I kind of, even though I know it's bad and it's a little bit of a toxic relationship, I kind of have a little bit of a soft spot for kind of the idea of Odysseus and Calypso. And I even took the name because I thought it would be, I think a Summer Islander lady would have a name like Calypso, because, yeah, why not?
State to fight, Daeron holds up vigilance. The lady in the lead takes note of the sword and whistles.
Now that's a pretty piece of shine right there, lad. Almost as pretty as you. Where'd you get it? You little lordling escaping a shipwreck. What's your name?
Norman Celtigar.
Well, Norman Celtigar. You've got a Westerosi accent.
So, yeah, that bit was also an Odysseus reference where where it's no man, to kind of conceal his name. I just thought I'd do that.
And I've heard tell that the Celtigars look like Valentine. Where'd you get that sword? Did you steal it, or is it a family heirloom?
I don't want any trouble. Just leave me be, and we can go our separate ways. And waste the gift of providence you have delivered us. Captain Calypso, the boy would likely fetch a good price if we were to sell him to Yunkai or Marine.
Tilting her head, the lady called Calypso walks toward Daeron, a long knife in her hand. Daeron hefts his sword, but she just flicks it aside. Rather than threatening him, the Summer Islander woman brushes his hair out of his face and wipes the sand from his cheek. Then she mouths something. Play along. Daeron's brain was a fog.
No, Salah. He's far too pretty to give to the Yunkish. That silver hair, those purple eyes. I think I'll keep him for myself. How do you like that, lad? Ever been a plaything for a Corsair queen?
Daeron immediately backs away, holding up vigilance as if it could protect him. The other Corsairs start laughing as they draw their weapons in advance.
Get back!
Calypso takes a frustrated breath and waves her men back before getting closer to Daeron. Just out of his reach, she halts.
You an idiot, boy, or are you just playing the fool?
I'm no one's plaything, Corsair.
Is that always sell you to the Yunkish? I'm trying to save you, boy. What part of play along didn't you understand? I'm not going to treat you badly. I give you my word. Just hand over the sword. I can't have you running around with a Valerian steel in your hand, you understand?
Thank you, no.
Boy, if you don't accept my deal, I'm going to have to do what Sal suggests and give you to the next Yunkish trader. If you behave, you'll be well treated. I'm not going to damage a work of art like you. Who knows? You might enjoy it.
Casually, she moves forward, then runs her fingers through Daeron's hair. Clumsily, Daeron swings at her, but he's too stiff to land a blow. She lazily evades the strike, but doesn't counterattack. Daeron stumbles forward, Vigilance's blade sinking into the sand. Daeron has enough strength to retreat backward onto the sand as Calypso walks toward him.
Just give up, lad. You're not in a state to fight. I promise I won't hurt you if you comply.
Back off, now.
You're trying my patience, boy. Just accept your fate, little lord.
I make my own fate.
You're a boy alone out here in the wild, and I've got a whole squad of men behind me. Drop the sword and surrender. Best to choose the kind of fate rather than the more unpleasant one.
It's fun.
Yeah, so at this one, that was kind of a series of subtle references. One, the thank you no is actually from Wheel of Time when Randall Thor invites one of his generals to come to a place where there's a possibility of a bunch of insane people who can use magic are quarantined functionally. And then the here out in the wild is a reference to Faramir, which I was like, I gotta put that in. It's too juicy to pass up.
Most of what you said was true, but one critical piece was incorrect.
And which part is that?
Yeah, even though I hate The Last Jedi with a fiery passion, the line, let me actually find it, because I think that I put it in here somewhere. I think I heard it. I have it somewhere in here. Where did I put that? It's going to be in here somewhere. Oh, this one.
Amazing. Every word of what you just said was wrong.
Yeah, even though I hate that movie, I was like, oh, okay, I can take the take the idea of it and put it into something better.
You're in the wild, and I've got a whole squad of men behind me. Drop the sword and surrender. Best to choose the kind of fate rather than the more unpleasant one.
It's funny. Most of what you said was true, but one critical piece was incorrect.
And which part is that, boy?
I'm not alone.
Calypso frowns in confusion and annoyance, then her face goes slack as she retreats away from what's coming. The rest of the crew hear it too. Tessarion had returned. Shrieking in fury, the Blue Queen descends from the sky, blood from her latest meal dripping from her fangs as she flies to Daeron. Allowing himself a satisfied smile, Daeron leans against his dragon as she snarls at the pirates. Calypso chews on the inside of her mouth, then she laughs.
See that, lads? Looks like I hope this perch turned out to be a lionfish in disguise. You're no Celtigar lordling boy. You're a prince, and based on that blue beast of yours, you must be Daeron Targaryen. Welcome to the Basilisk Isles, your grace.
Yes, I am. Now, if you don't mind, madam, I'm getting on my dragon and leaving. Don't follow me.
Wait. I think we might have gotten off on the wrong foot, your grace.
Don't care to get on the right one, madam.
You're obviously running from something. That sword has a high tower pommel on it, and that beastie of yours doesn't have saddlebags, meaning you had to go on the run in a hurry.
How astute. Your point?
Why don't we go back to my base? You look like you're starving. Come with us, so we can get some food in you, and we can talk like a pair of rational individuals. Sound fair?
At that point, Daeron's stomach decided to betray him and start rumbling. His vision was also somewhat hazy. She was right. He was famished.
I always like using that phrase of his stomach betraying him. Robert Jordan actually uses it fairly frequently in Wheel of Time, and I've always thought, oh, that's a clever phrase. I like that. And so this is kind of just the conflict of he's very brittle right now, and he's feeling like very much a like on the run, very brittle, and she's like, hey, sorry. She kind of is trying to help him the whole time. He's just kind of being a bit prickly, and now kind of we're seeing kind of just see him kind of his sad boy
Anything.
arc.
My dragon will go wild.
Shrugging, Calypso motions to the other corsairs. Sal, the Lyseni-looking pirate who'd talked about selling Daeron, gives a speculative look as Daeron climbs onto his dragon and has Tessarion go into the air just above the pirates. The base, as Calypso had called it, was a shantytown as large as Old Town, made from odds and ends within what looked to be a ruined city inside of a cave as tall as the Red Keep, probably a Valyrian settlement before the Doom. When Tessarion approaches, the people in the rundown stone buildings and ramshackle huts, tents, and other structures take cover under until Calypso warns them that Daeron is a friend. Daeron snorts at that idea. Thankfully, he was far enough away that nobody but Tessarion could hear him. When he lands, Calypso takes him on a tour of the town. Some of Daeron's wariness goes away when he sees the townsfolk interact with the Corsair Queen. She knew every one of their names.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
when they say that they need supplies for their work, be it
kind of
medical, grain or seeds, tools.
Yeah, he's been betrayed by people far closer to him than she is, and we kind of go into that later.
Or anything, she pulls out a small notebook and writes it down. Finally, they reach a large temple structure that was Calypso's private abode. Casually, she escorts him inside, giving a pair of barefoot serving boys instructions to bring food for Daeron. Almost as soon as they reach her makeshift room in the upper area, the food is laid out. Blinking, Daeron turns toward his host, who gestures for him to go ahead. Despite wanting to just dig into what looked like a roasted animal, Daeron sits down and starts carefully eating what is in front of him. It wouldn't do to vomit it all back up. Calypso goes to the wine pitcher and pours a couple of glasses.
Drink?
You first.
I'm not going to poison you, Daeron. You're too valuable to me and my little endeavor. But if you insist...
Shrugging, the Corsair Queen takes a long drink of her wine before taking a seat across from him. Seeming completely at ease, she puts her booted foot up on a stool and lounges back in her chair.
So, I imagine that you're running away from something, and it's probably dire. Why don't you tell me what's going on?
I'm just on a long journey. I got caught in a storm.
Please don't give me half-truths, Daeron. It's just going to waste time. Is it vigilance you're carrying? Lord Hightower chasing after you to take back the blade?
No, I don't want to talk about it. Needless to say, yes, I'm on the run. I'll get out of here as soon as I'm rested.
Or you could stay.
And be, what? Your plaything?
Ugh. I thought that way in front of my men to try and save you, foolish boy. Round here, we don't just allow strays or possible informants to run loose. If you have a use, you stay. If not, well, you get the idea.
And that was the only use you could think of? Your pet?
You are, what, 15, 16?
17.
17, forgive me. I've had men who've been killing and raiding since they were half your age. I've got trades.
Yeah, a little Aragon reference, even though I don't like that movie. One of the things I actually enjoy doing is I will actually throw in, and here he gets a summer mansion to make Jason Lannister jealous. I think it's more just he gets a Summer Islander lady to make Jason Lannister jealous.
Men who have useful skills that I need. Shipwrights, physicians, cobblers, the works. And based on your clothes, you're highborn, meaning you likely have few skills that will be useful here. That means we take the sword and sell you. It's simple business. But with that dragon of yours, you're the most dangerous individual in the Basilisk Isles. How are you enjoying the tattooed lizard, by the way?
Daeron pauses with some of the meat in his mouth. It tasted just like chicken. Grunting, he forces himself to swallow.
The lizard? What kind of lizard is that big?
Tattooed lizard, dearie. They're as big as a pony and run as fast as a hound on 2 legs. Need to be very careful hunting them. Good eating on them, too. And with the right spices we procure from ships bound from ET, they don't taste half bad.
Gingerly, Daeron put.
Yeah, so this was actually another Wheel of Time joke where one of the things that that happens to Randall Thor is that one of his future girlfriends decides to mess with him by giving him random animals that she's found, such as snake, and just makes it. And one of the funniest lines is, the worst was Gara, not because it tasted bad, it tasted a bit like chicken, but because it was a lizard. Summer Mansion is somewhat flexible. Depends, I guess it's just whatever part of the body wants to stick it in.
Pushes the meat away and starts eating from the fruit bowl. Calypso laughs and takes the plate so she can dig into it. Finally, after Daeron feels his stomach is satisfied, he breaks the silence.
I appreciate you feeding me, but once Tessarion is ready, I will be leaving.
And where exactly are you going to go with whatever it is that's chasing you on your tail? Assos? They'd rat you out. Keep running all the way to ET. Maybe you make it, maybe not. There's another option. You stay here, and me and my crew will take care of you.
I'm aware of your customs. Why should I stay?
Because nobody would think to come here. This is the ass end of nowhere. As far from real civilization as you can get without going into the green hell that is Sethorius. You hide here, you stay hidden. And if you fight with us, we'll protect you.
When Daeron seems recalcitrant, Calypso rubs her forehead and starts taking points off on her fingers.
The way I see it, you have 3 choices. 1, you keep on going as you have been, and you'll get sold out by the first farmer and tavern wench or dock worker that sees you or that dragon of yours. Needless to say, you'll be running for the rest of your natural life. 2, you go into the green hell and vanish, likely to die of some wasting illness. Or 3, you stay here with us. You help me expand my territory, protect my people, and I'll make sure you stay safe and have a good life. Together, we could be a power in the waters. You talked about making your own fate. Here, you have the chance to do so. No more running.
I've been betrayed before, and by much closer friends. Why should I trust you?
Because you're an irreplaceable asset, Daeron. Why don't I show you to your rooms so you can think about it? There'll be a change of clothes for you since what you're wearing is pretty ruined. You'll probably need a good night's sleep as well.
Gracefully, she stands up and helps him to his feet. After settling him into his rooms, she departs, but stays just next to the door. Daeron manages to keep things together until after he's put on the new clothes. The weight of everything he'd gone through crashes down on him as he sinks into the couch and starts crying. Calypso winces in guilt as the sound of the young boy crying reaches her ears through the door. He was clearly in horrible pain and likely feeling utterly alone. For a moment, she thought of walking away and letting him be, but it didn't sit right with her. He'd probably been through hell. For a while, she considers going back in, then decides against it. Feeling guilty, she walks away. The next day, Daeron walks out into the shinty town and starts exploring. The people seemed friendly to him. Whether that was by someone's order or a genuine concern for him, Daeron didn't really care. Nobody truly cared for him. They'd either betrayed him or used him. Before tending to Sarian and getting a few things at the market with a few coins in his purse, Daeron walks back out to the beach and sits next to his dragon. Tears flow down his cheeks. Daeron pulls out the items he bought, a quill and ink, a piece of wood, and a piece of parchment. He didn't have their bodies, but he would honor his siblings and give them some kind of remembrance. Sniffling, Daeron writes out their names, each letter a knife to his heart. Finally, he looks down at the paper that had Aegon, Helena, and Aemond's names written on it. Hands quivering, Daeron sets it on the wood, then places the wood on the water and pushes it out. After a single command, Tessarion opens her jaws and burns the wood and the parchment away. Unable to hold himself together, Daeron wraps his arms around Tessarion's neck and starts crying again. He'd been unable to properly grieve for his siblings until now, and the pain racked him like fresh torture.
I didn't even have the chance to say goodbye.
Tessarion croons and rests her head on his shoulder comfortingly.
Yeah, so I do like that. One of the things that I like about that scene, this was actually pointed out by our editor as he was writing it, was that this kind of humanizes them, the Greens, more than anything in House of the Dragon season 2. And I feel like that's to a certain extent still accurate, where he's a good kid and he's like, wow, they're all dead, and I didn't even get to say goodbye or properly mourn them. And he's just kind of doing a makeshift funeral where he just burns their names on a little piece of paper because that's the best that he can manage. And Tessarion is kind of his only companion in his grief. He just feels really down and is unable to do anything.
At least he knew his dragon loved him. Swallowing, Daeron looks up at the stars above him, wondering where he could go. He felt lost and alone, like the whole world was against him. Swallowing, Daeron walks back home and sits in his rooms, then pulls out a set of brushes and some paints. Carefully, he starts drawing the faces of his siblings as best that he could remember them. He has to stop when tears trickle down his nose. Swallowing, Daeron puts the painting of Aegon aside and wipes his eyes.
I'm alone. I'm lost and alone with no friends or family left. I don't even know if the babes are safe.
The idea of the twins and little Maelor dying broke what was left of Daeron's composure. The door opening makes him look up and wipe his eyes to see Calypso walk in and close the door.
Why are you here? Leave me be.
You seemed sad, Daeron. I thought that you might need someone to talk to.
You have no idea what I've been through. You have no idea what pain I'm in. Leave me alone.
For answer, Calypso pulls her scarf down to reveal the marks of a slave collar around her neck, then pulls up her sleeve to reveal manacle scars. Daeron stares for a moment, then she covers them back up and gives him a level expression.
Yeah, I would actually agree, because Daeron, even after Aegon's presumed dead, is still fighting for him against some pretty hefty odds, because now it's basically just, and same with Vhagar and Aemond. Like, Aemond doesn't surrender to Rhaenyra, and at the end of the dance, Aegon wants to put up statues of Aemond and Daeron that are bigger than the Titan of Braavos, even though he doesn't really understand. Yeah, they're very fractious and at each other's throats. Yeah, it's a frequent problem where, and especially because Rhaenyra becomes highly volatile at the end of the dance, where she's turning on everybody, and for no real reason, the dragon seeds turn against her in order to make it so that she doesn't have an overwhelming advantage. And it's just like, yeah, the dance is sloppy. George had to kill off the dragons somehow, and even then he forgot 3 big ones. Like, he forgot Cannibal, Silverwing, and Sheep Stealer, all of which could theoretically still be around during the time of GOT, because they're not, like, Silverwing would be about the size of Vhagar, and so there's just kind of an element of, George, how'd you forget? Those are pretty important.
You'd probably be surprised at what kind of pain I'm familiar with. I'm staying. You need someone. Brave boy like you wouldn't be crying unless you were in serious pain.
All right. You can sit.
Calypso takes a seat next to Daeron and puts her arm around his shoulders. For a moment, Daeron sits there stiffly. Then he leans forward and lets a few tears trickle down his face. Gently, Calypso puts him into a hug and starts to stroke his hair. At first, Daeron tries to pull away, but she holds him fast until he clings to her like a drowning man.
They're all dead. All my siblings are dead. And my cousin nearly sold me to their killers.
That kind of betrayal cuts deep. I know how that feels. Would you like me to stay with you?
Why do you care? Just because I'm a dragon rider?
I've been trying to help you since you washed up here. I know your last few days have been hard, but here you're safe. With me, you can stay as long as you want, far away from anybody who would want to hurt you.
And how can I be sure?
You can't, but I can give you my word. Word of a Corsair, I know, but it's the best I can do, that you won't be harmed while you're here. How about you tell me about them?
That's the worst part. I hadn't seen them in years. I can barely remember their faces, but they were my family, and
Forgotten that. I think he's probably leaving the thing up because one of the problems is Aegon the Younger. Yeah, since she just goes to Red Lake and stays there, and then nothing happens to her. So, and as we look at it, Silver may have left an egg at the wall. There's actually an interesting thing of Samuel Tarley actually wonders if Silver might have left it at the wall, but she during Red Lake's the only thing we have left of her. We don't hear about her death, and there's no way to kill Silverwing. I'm like, there's no way that Mr. Dragonbait could kill Silverwing. Yeah, he left alone on purpose. Well, the thing that we see, the last thing we see of the cannibal, is that he just flies off, and he just vanishes. Nobody, probably a few claiming attempts. Yeah, he was left alone, but he just kind of vanishes at the end of the dance, never to be found. I mean, I like the idea that the cannibal took wing to salute the deceased. I just think that's really interesting.
Look forward to being together again. And now they're gone, and my sorrows cannot bring them back.
Then let's keep their memory alive.
So it's actually funny. Daeron probably would have claimed Daeron the young dragon. Yeah, I think that he probably would have. This is so funnily enough. Not to. So I'm actually. So I mentioned this, that I'm LDS or Mormon, and some of the lines that Daeron is using is actually from the last right chronicler in the Book of Mormon, where he's saying does a lot of last couple, where I have no friends or kinsmen or whither to go, and now they are gone, and my sorrows cannot bring them back. Daeron the Good, yeah, actually would work, since it would fit with the good Queen Alysanne. I think that would fit. But basically, yeah, it's kind of me pulling some rather poignant lines from something that's been formative to my growing up into this that I normally don't get to pull in. And this is kind of just the building of the relationship between these two, where she's kind of his only, like, the only person that really understands him besides his dragon. Yeah, he would probably go after the cannibal. The young dragon would go for Vhagar or the cannibal. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Tell me what you remember. Only the best parts. That's what matters tonight.
He tells her everything he can remember about his siblings, how he'd looked up to Aemond, how kind and good Helena was, despite her fascination with bugs, and how Aegon had made everyone laugh. Finally, after he's finished, Calypso takes a goblet and raises it. Daeron does the same.
To Aemond, Helena, and Aegon.
He can't finish. The words just catch his throat, as if saying it might mean that he was letting go of him forever. Calypso sets aside her drink and does the same with his, so she can lean his head against her shoulder. Slowly, his eyes drift closed, and she starts to sing to him. For the first time since leaving Old Town, Daeron felt safe. After a few years, the Seven Kingdoms are now under Rhaenyra's control. The Westerlands have bent the knee, Old Town is secured, and the traitors have been executed. Alicent and her grandchildren remain as hostages in the Red Keep. As part of the negotiations to earn the North's favor, Joffrey had been sent to White Harbor to meet his new betrothed, while Rhaena is married to Oscar Tully for his loyalty during the brief war. Rhaenyra and Daemon look out over King's Landing, secure in their place as queen and prince consort.
And there's no word of Daeron anywhere?
No, the boy vanished into the storm, leaving no trace.
Continue to put the word out. I want him found. If he stays out of our hands long enough, then Tessarion will grow large enough to become a threat. I'm not interested in further danger to my family.
I'll double the reward for information on the boy.
No, there's a better way to find out where he is. Didn't his Uncle Wayne object to his capture? He seemed fond of the boy. Perhaps he could lead us to Daeron, either through direct means or because our prey comes to him.
He did. I see your meaning. I'll have him released and ensure he doesn't know it was us.
Gawain looks up as an unfamiliar man opens his cell and ushers him in to go. Confused, he asks him what's going on, only to be told to hurry as Daeron was in danger and needed his help. Not wanting to look a gift horse in the mouth, Gawain accepts. After being escorted onto a ship and sent off into the night, Gawain strokes the hilt of his sword and looks out over the horizon.
I will find you, Daeron. I will not fail you again.
On the island, Daeron sits on the beach, staring up at the star-strewn sky. He'd never seen so many stars before coming here. Casually, he takes a sip of the strange double-distilled brandy that these people like to drink. He'd given a lot of thought to what Calypso had said about them being a power in these waters over the past few years, and as he's gotten to know her and sees her character, Daeron found that he liked the Corsair Queen. She was actually genuine, and she'd been kind to him. He just hadn't gotten up the nerve to say anything, not until now. Carefully, Daeron checks the gift he'd prepared and then returns to the town. When he knocks on her door, the Corsair Queen welcomes him with a warm smile.
Daeron, how have you been? I haven't seen you all day. I thought you might be sick or something.
No, I was making something for you. Calypso tilts her head with interest, then her eyebrows raise as Daeron pulls out a portrait that he'd drawn for her. Hoping that this was the right choice, Daeron offers the painting to her, which she takes. I couldn't get all the colors I wanted, but I did my best with what I had.
It's beautiful. Is this how you see?
She trails off as Daeron places his hand on her face and caresses her cheek. Blinking, Calypso sets the painting aside and puts her hand on his. Daeron leans his head against her forehead as she runs her hand through his silver hair. I've made my choice, but I want something.
What is it?
I want you as my queen when I claim the Basilisk Islands as my own. You brought me out of my darkness and made me feel safe when I had been tossed by the winds of grim, unhappy fate and betrayal. I feel safe with you. So, would you... He trails off, not knowing how to express himself. He was just worried about losing this, but knowing how he felt about this lady, he had to at least try. Gently, Calypso takes his soft hands in her calloused ones and kisses his knuckles.
If you want me to be your queen, then who am I to refuse you, Daeron Targaryen?
Overjoyed, Daeron.
Yeah, so Boba hated this. He was like, she should have said no. But instead she says yes. My thought was, I'm like, yeah, I probably should have considered that. And maybe just had to be single. But I was like, he was very pissed off, to say the least. He was pretty pissed off. He was more pissed off at yeah, I think he was more pissed off. I think it's just the Aegon on video and this one really pissed him off.
Daeron leans forward and kisses her. After Silver Dragon Prince and the Sable Corsair Queen are married, the plan takes shape. They had been a small fleet of 4 ships, each with their own full crew. With Daeron and Caesarion above them, the other ships go to each of the other islands and start gathering the other Corsairs under one banner. With the promise of riches and greater resources now that a dragon is at their head, the Corsairs kneel to Daeron. Instead of individuals attacking ships on their own, they now assemble as a single fleet. Under cover of night, Daeron flies to Slaver's Bay with a group of ships. Daeron drops from the sky and unleashes Caesarion, burning a dozen ships in a pass by before sweeping up. As Daeron draws the attention of the enemy away, Calypso and her vessels hit the galleys and start freeing the slaves. Once enough are set free, they take the ships left intact and sail off, covered by Daeron. With new cogs, sloops, and galleys, they sail to an island and set up their base there. Soon, the whole eastern half of Essos begins to fear the sails bearing the colors of the Blue Lizard as they ride up and down the coast, freeing slaves and bringing them south to the Basilisk Isles. Years pass, and Daeron is firmly established as the Corsair king of the Basilisk Isles, though his real identity as Daeron Targaryen is kept secret. Caesarion rapidly grows larger and larger until she is the size to match Meleys or Silverwing. The rumors of a dragon in the far east of Essos draws Daemon and Rhaenys, but every time they attempt to find their quarry, the Blue Queen has vanished into the ether. Gawain Hightower also continues his search for his nephew, showing a portrait of Daeron to anybody who's willing to listen. Nobody knows where he could be, though. Despite the lack of success, Gawain keeps on looking. One day, as he's traveling, a group of slavers surround him on an empty road.
Looks like you picked the wrong road, friend. Let me pass, sirs. I have no quarrel with you. We do not have one with you, but we need the money. You look like you could fetch a good price. I'm on a mission to find someone. If you try to stop me, I will fight.
At that moment, one of the slavers raises a sling and lets it loose. The rock hits Gawain in the chest and causes him to double over in pain. With him incapacitated, the slavers move in. With no guards, Gawain is forced to the ground. Despite struggling and suffering several beatings, Gawain is sold to a galley as an oar slave. Through everything, he does what he can to protect the painting of Daeron. During the voyage, Gawain suffers beating after beating for defending his fellow slaves against the bosuns. Several times, Gawain attempts to slip his chains and escape, but he is unable to get far before being dragged back below decks. On the 4th such attempt, the slavers beat him and throw him into the brig. For days, he languishes in the hold, thirst and hunger gnawing at him. Gawain is slipping in and out of consciousness when he hears a fight on deck. Trying to gather his strength, he tries to pull his swollen eye into a position where he can see the outline of a ship attacking the one carrying him through a hole in the hull. After a brief battle, he hears someone breaking into the brig, face bruised from the previous day's beating. Gawain looks up at the blurry outline of the man.
Dear gods, what happened to this man? Get him some water.
The canteen is put to Gawain's lips, and he drinks greedily as his benefactor kneels in front of him. Gawain can't make out his rescuer's face due to his swollen eyes and blurry vision as he's unshackled.
It's all right, friend. You're free now.
Kind sir, I thank you for my freedom, but I have to ask. I've been searching for someone. My nephew, Daeron. Do you know where I can find him? Please, I beg you. I have to find him.
Hand shaking, he pulls out the worn and faded painting and holds it up. His benefactor lets out a gasp and puts his hand on Gawain's face with surprising gentleness. For the first time, Gawain sees a haze of silver hair.
Uncle Gawain, you found him. I'm right here.
Oh, Daeron, my boy, I found you.
Weeping with joy, Gawain flings his arms around his nephew as they both cry tears of happiness.
Yeah,
for a long time,
I kind of like that he looks like Allison in the show.
I thought I'd never see you again.
It's actually a funny thing where they actually stole an idea from Mr. Preston Jacobs with this one, because I don't know of any other content creator that have dark angels. But I kind of put it liked the idea that Mr. Preston Jacobs put forward, that Daeron got sent away because he doesn't look Targaryen. He looks like Alicent, which I think is rather amusing. So I was like, okay, let's put it in. Let's put that in, because I thought, oh, okay, let's toss that in. That's funny. So, and with this, I
tried to stop them, but failed. I vowed to find you and die trying.
You were always my truest friend.
Daeron pulls Gwain's arms around his shoulders and helps his uncle onto his ship. After putting him into a sickbed, Daeron immediately shifts course toward home. After finding a place to anchor, Daeron sits next to Gwain's sickbed so he can nurse his uncle back to health. Soon, Gwain has the strength to travel, and Daeron flies him through the Isles of Tears.
So, this is actually, I doubt they intended it, but that's hilarious. Yeah. So, to kind of, this may kind of bring the mood down a little, but something this was kind of a little bit ironic, that I had a bit where a nephew interacts with his uncle. The reason why that's ironic, because I actually wrote this about, I finished writing this about 3 days before my dad came into my room first thing in the morning and said, your uncle committed suicide. And it was, I was like, no way. And it was just, I was shocked, honestly, because I was like, really? No way. And it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, because it was just kind of weird where it's a nephew and his uncle being reunited, and I was like, wow. It was kind of almost like prophetic in a way. It was very, very odd. But I really liked, but kind of with this scene, well, what happened was, I was just kind of writing this, and one of the things I was kind of pulling reference from was actually Christ meeting with the blind man. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Was when in the Living Scriptures movie of depicting the bit where the blind man talks with like Christ after he's been well, after he's been healed. I've always kind of found that scene in that particular little TV show to be very emotionally moving, and I kind of wanted to pull some of that element in there. And it's just kind of was kind of a touchstone for kind of how I was writing the scene, where I wanted to kind of have that reunion, kind of have that same emotional impact, where he's going to the ends of the earth to try and find his nephew, and he's going to try to fight his way to get through it, and it feels like it's been very hard won, and he can't really see properly, and then finally he manages to, after all of it, he manages to get there. And I really wanted to humanize some of the Greens in this one, because I feel like they often aren't very well humanized. So yeah, I decided to put that in there.
Calypso is returning from a quick trip to another island when Daeron lands on the beach.
You're back early. Who's your friend?
Calypso, this is my Uncle Gwaine. He has been searching for me all these years, and now he's here to stay with us. Calypso warmly embraces Gwaine, and both of them usher him to their home where someone is waiting for them. A young boy with dark skin and silver blonde hair, and a baby girl with the same features. Proudly, Daeron introduces his son Aemond and his daughter Helena to Gwaine. Tears flow down his bearded face. Gwaine holds the girl in his arms and smiles.
I've missed so much time, Daeron. I'm so sorry I couldn't help you at Hightower. I fought as hard as I could, but there were too many.
I know. I'm just glad that the man I always saw as a second father came searching for me. I'm overjoyed you're here, Uncle. If you wish to stay, then I have a place for you as my hand of the king.
I've searched for you since escaping Hightower. I shall not leave your side again, Daeron.
More time passes, and soon the news of Daeron being king in the Basilisk Isles reaches King's Landing. Rhaenyra immediately suggests sending the fleet to clear out the Basilisk Isles, along with as many dragons as they can muster, but Jace advises against this. No one had ever been able to successfully clear out the archipelago. Also, Daeron could ambush their ships and attack them at anchor, or simply hide in Sothoryos.
Then what would you advise, Jace? You are my heir, and your work during the conflict was excellent. I'm willing to hear you out.
Mother, I know Daeron. He's a good man. We trained together before all this. Let me talk to him. I have no part in the deaths of his siblings, so he's not going to be inclined to fight me.
That is a deadly risk, son.
It's necessary, Mother. Vermax can face Daeron if it comes to it. It takes days, but finally Rhaenyra is convinced to allow Jace to fly south, but only if Rhaena comes with him on Vhagar. After a few days, Jace comes into view. For a while, Daeron considers hiding until he decides that it would be pointless when he sees Vhagar flying not far from the smaller dragon. Rather than attack, Vhagar lands atop Howling Mountain, while Vermax starts canvassing the area. Eventually, Daeron flies to meet Jace in the sky. Once Daeron gets close, Jace slowly descends toward a large, rocky island and lands Vermax. Both riders dismount their dragons, the dark-haired prince of Dragonstone with Blackfire on his hip, while the Corsair King rests his hand on Vigilance's hilt.
It's been a long time, Daeron. Indeed it has, Jace. Have you come here to kill me? No. I wanted to talk with my friend. It's been years, but I still remember you and I training together at the Red Keep before you were sent off. You killed my brothers and sister. That was not my doing, Daeron. What's done is done. Now be quick. Why are you here? To see you, and to tell you how your nephews and niece are doing. They're alive. Yes, they're alive. Jaehaera is happily married to my brother Aegon. Jaehaerys and Maelor are betrothed to Valyrian girls, and they are well provided for. Why tell me this? Because I remember the boy who never treated me like I was a bastard, and I've heard of the daring blue dragon of the east with rescuing slaves, bringing an end to pirates. I'd like to mend bridges. You can stay here in your own private kingdom, and we won't bother you. But you must stay here. Essos is yours to do as with you please. But if you decide to wage war in Westeros, you will not like the consequences. I want my nephews and niece to come here. You can visit them at any time. There's nothing stopping you. But we know that as soon as I set foot in Westeros, they'll put me in chains. A compromise, then. I can send them to Pentos to live in the Targaryen estate. They would remain there, under guard, separated from their dragons. But you will be able to safely visit them, seeming...
Yeah, being more amicable as opposed to how the book implies that they hated each other, since Earth is much more realistic. Yeah, especially since one of the things that is interesting that going through Preston Jacobs, where it's more likely that Daeron and Jace were peers as opposed to Aemond and Aegon, because Aegon and Aemond are 8 and 5 years older, so they would not be in the same weight category or training category. And so I was just like, hey, let's kind of just put that in there, since they were milk brothers, served a maid. And honestly, there's kind of it's either a Doylist mistake or a Watsonian mistake that says that that the Green Boys hated the Strong Boys for taking their birthright, since they don't have one. They're just kind of the second sons, and they're not the heir. So, it's kind of just frustrating where you kind of just have this attitude of they all hated them. As like, they probably didn't really hate them until the incident with Aemon's eye. So, and they kind of are just, part of the problem is it's just like, since George is super sloppy with this, with even just like the Grand Maester, Preston Jacobs did a very long dissection of how much the Grand Maester stuff is utterly stupid. And George has no continuity with that, and it's very frustrating. But yeah, that's kind of what I want. It's a whole tangent for another time.
Genuine. Jacaerys offers his hand toward Daeron. For a long moment, Daeron looks down at the proffered hands and then takes it. When Daeron is reunited with his nephews and niece and Pentos, they run to him and almost tackle him to the ground. Despite all he'd lost, Daeron felt glad that at last he had a few people he loved still with him. That's our theory. Westeros is a land filled with exciting.
Yep, and that's the Daeron arc concluded. I definitely feel like the second one is significantly better. Because I was just like, yeah, this one had a number of problems in it. Lore tubers trying to make sense. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's one of the things where it's like George, sloppy man. It's very frustrating, but this I feel like I did a lot better, and the ending was made a lot more sense because it's a lot more smaller scale. Overall, I'm much prouder of how this turned out, and I'm very happy with. I feel like I was able to take the feedback from the previous one, apply it, make it a little bit better, and yeah. I like to see Daeron again. I need to figure out. I'll probably maybe do him in the. There's a Daemon killing Aegon and Harrenhal video that I'm going to be writing this week. I need to finish up Rob X Ariane, and I'm going to try to do what's its bug? Kind of Rob or John. John being reborn in Hot House of the Dragon, since Gargi gave me some interesting stuff. I was considering having him be Balon and married off to Foster in the Rock rather than Old Town. Yeah, him and Tashara are banging. Him and Tashara are gonna bang. Hang with that one. Hang if that one if he's Foster in the Rock, he's gonna probably him and Tashara are gonna bang, and Joanna's gonna catch them, and she's gonna be like, "Should I geld you?" Yeah, Jason shenanigans. Yeah, I think especially since Tashara is basically is a blank slate, who I can basically do with however I please. And I would like to do more Jason Lannister, master play actor. It's like, I get to play act. How marvelous. Yeah. But yeah, I think that'll conclude it. The next time we're gonna stream is gonna be Sunday evening MST. Gonna be chatting about gonna be live reacting to the episode 6 of House of the Dragon, season 3. I'm going on vacation to Cedar City, gonna be with family. Lauren Lannister, I guess Sorrel. Yeah, I can do Sorrel as well. I'll be interested to do it. I really want to. I'll have to suggest it. I think that we're gonna let me pull it up. 9/11 is going to be the last House of the Dragon script for this year. After that, we basically have a plan set up for basically it's all Game of Thrones for the rest of the year. We do have one. What if Dunk and Egg were reborn into Game of Thrones? That one is going to come up. I'm up in the future, so stay tuned for that. But basically, it's after September 11th. It's all going to be Game of Thrones related content until the end of the year. I just need to figure out which ones I'm going to pick. So there's a couple that are interesting that I'm interested in seeing, though. Some of it is, I'm like, some of these, I'm like, I don't know what I would do with these. Some of them are interesting. Some of them are not interesting at all, and I'm gonna have to pick them up, and they might have to result to random bullcrap generator go. So yeah, that's heartbreaking and hilarious. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what since I'm not writing that one. At the same time, so I'm going to have to contrive something, but the idea that I am going to be working with for that one, road trip and John stuff. Some of them I'm not going to be able to do that. I have to actually like do politics, and there's probably going to be like, okay, I'm going to have to contrive a lot of stuff. The idea with that one is that since Daemon killing Aegon at Harrenhal, the idea that someone had was that rather than going to Rook's Rest, Aegon II goes to Harrenhal while Aemond goes to Rook's Rest. That's great. I love that. But yeah, that's kind of the idea there. And I'm definitely going to be. I'll be interested. Some of them are like, I don't know how to do this. I'll have to be thinking. I'll be. It'll be interesting to kind of do because I've got a few that are I'm very excited about, and others that I'm like, all right. Might take a few days to figure this one out. I feel like writing House of the Dragons are a lot easier. Which one? Yeah, but yeah. Oh yeah. Now it becomes literal. Since in the Blackfire Rebellions, it's Dark Sister against Blackfire. In House of the Dragon with Bittersteel and Bloodraven, and then in the Dance of Dragons, it's Aegon and Daemon both have their respective Conqueror's respective swords. But I'll be interested to kind of do a few of these. Some of them I'm interested to kind of see a few of these come to fruition. That are intriguing to say the least. I just need to kind of keep ahead of my schedule, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Without Daemon. Well, I think it's Daemon. Yeah, the Black Scissors, but I think that it's Daemon. It's that Daemon kills Aegon at Harrenhal is the prompt, not that Aegon and Daemon kill each other. That might be interesting. So I definitely think that it's going to be. I think that Meleys and Rhaenys is probably still going to die, and then we just kind of figure out from there what we can do. So I'll be interested to see. I'll see where the story takes me. Some of these prompts, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but we shall see. Anyway, I have to get going. I need to cook up some protein and then go prostitute my bodily fluids for money, since I won't be able to do that for the rest of the week. Anyway, I will see you guys later. Bye.
Enough! Kill me! Just end it. No.